June. That tells you that the involvement of President Kufour is undoubtedly cannot be measured because he has stood for the party at any point in time. He spoke to us, he spoke experience, he spoke wisdom, he spoke age, he spoke future. And President Kufour certainly would not be very happy with people who want to dent his image out there. Because of that, we as leadership, we are resisting the temptation to discuss President Kufour in the public. He's an elderly man of the party. He has the authority to make his mind very clear in any manner that he needs. If we had such situation with President Kufour, the Patriotic Institute wouldn't have been there. So it is entirely not true, and people want President Kufour to be dragged in the mud, that it cannot be done through the current leadership. President Kufour remains a pillar in our party, he remains a foundation in our party, and he remains the future of our party.
Thank you very much. That is the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, giving us some indication as to what exactly is going to happen. So very soon, of course, we're going to have Newsfile in the next 8 minutes, and then we'll continue the rolling coverage every now and then when there's some big thing happening here. Trust us definitely to bring that to you, the big interviews, especially now that we are stationed here at the VVIP entrance where big people are now coming in. You've seen Kojo Ponkruma. We expect any moment from now, perhaps the minority leader Alexander Afenyo-Makin coming in, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, all those who matter within any patriotic party. This is where they'll be coming from, and when they do come here, we'll be here to grant them interviews, to speak to them, to pick their thoughts on what exactly is going to happen today and what the expectations are in terms of bringing the party, the New Patriotic Party, together to form, obviously, a formidable opposition to the current government and to show readiness to win the 2028 election if the Ghanaian people so decide.
That is why we are your election headquarters. Kwaku Asante there with the latest for us from the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. We're continuing a coverage of this National Delegates Conference right on Newsfile as well, and then we'll have other colleagues give us updates. But Winston, you were just wrapping up a point there.
Yes, I mean, so I was saying that if you look at the NPP's history, post 2005, for instance, when Kufour had a lot of hold on the party, he's been there. It's been there. And so there are, so when you make the point, for instance, that, you know, part of the NPP's problem is the fact that once it got into government also, and we've seen the governance, you know, in the last, particularly in Akufo-Addo's second term, and I'm one of those who have said if Akufo-Addo had, you know, exited in the first term, you probably would have said he was, I mean, he did so well. Problems in the second term, I've talked about the DDP. So if you're looking for why the NPP is where it is today, of course, you will look for Akufo-Addo and say that he is part of it. And so I can agree with, you know, Evans's point that he makes. Also, if you go to even, and for those who have seen bits and pieces of the Mike Okwe Committee's report, at every point in time, a lot of the people the party spoke to blamed the government. Who was the head of the government? President Akufo-Addo was the head of the government. And so it's obvious that that is the problem. Now, the J. Kufour situation, and you hear Haruna Mohammed make the point, that visit was when, you know, I think the Brian Champon team visited earlier. Yeah. So the J. Kufour situation, at this point in time where the NPP feels that, look, a lot of problems may have happened the last time it was in government, whom do you look up to? Yeah. You look up to J. Kufour. That's why, you know, when you make the point about the Council of Elders, for instance, you have J. Kufour still there. Yeah. And so it would have been nice, for instance, that J. Kufour would have been here. Unfortunately, he's not around. And I'm sure he would address the party virtually. And that'd be it.
Evans, Kojo Ponkruma was just talking about the mode of adoption, voice votes. When that happens, you know, well, it's like railroading everyone into the decision.
I mean, to be fair to them people, that's how they've always done it, where they just come. So that's why I actually don't think this will take that long. Once the proposal is read, they would ask those who... The challenge with holding this in a stadium like this is that it's very dispersed. But again, this is a 10,000-seater stadium, so we're hoping that will sort of deal with the challenge. We'll see. You know, before this, there was this writ that was circulated that sought to arrest the
They've withdrawn it. The guys
there has been, yes. In fact, one of the guys says he wasn't even exactly part of it. I mean, people will complain. There's always been complaints after conferences about how the proposals were adopted. I don't think this will be different, except that the party is in a place right now where they've hit rock bottom. They have to find a way out of where they are right now. They believe look, the truth must be told. The party knows what they want to do. Those who run the party, they know the proposals that will be adopted today and those who that won't be. I mean, it's engineered. We know that already. I mean, it's they have to meet for a formality, for a conversation around how best to proceed. Yeah. They can't afford to make a mistake. I must admit, though, all the proposals I've seen, I am convinced, even if they choose to adopt all, will make the party better. Because I sum up the proposals in this form. It seeks to democratize the party a bit more, decentralize it a bit more, but in essence also enhance transparency and broaden the base of participation in internal elections and decision making. If you sum it all up, it delivers on what I've just said. That's how I'm summing it up as. So it isn't bad for the party to do something, expand the base, democratizing it, and making people feel inclusive.
Yeah. Call it a party at crossroads, and you won't be wrong. But of course, the NPP says it is hoping to rebuild together with the core values of the NPP. That's why we're bringing you that special coverage of the NPP's National Delegates Conference. We're bringing you intermittent updates while we bring you Newsfile as well, because Samson Ladi is with us in studio as well, just readying himself to get some more expertise and analysis on all of the issues that have been happening throughout the week, including this delegates conference, which is happening right about now. Samson, where do you see the NPP as we speak?
I've been looking at 59 of them, is it? Proposals for amendments?
Yes.
Yeah, 59 individuals and organizations have made.
Right. And I've seen those who are expansionist oriented in their structures.
Right.
And it gives me an idea that they feel that there are people who must have a voice who don't have a voice. And so I've been reading some of them, including the one by Sir Obama of Pokwase, that popular.
Yeah.
Right. And you see also proposals that suggest that they should take away that college that
the special electoral college,
the aspirants down, presidential aspirants down to 5. That
was a problem wrongly diagnosed in 2009. They diagnosed the problem wrongly, and that's why I think at this point they've recognized that.
That's right.
Go back.
Okay, so expect more
news.
So
to your question, I think
briefly,
they are in a very difficult place, but they will scale it.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, then. We're just going for a short break. When we get back, of course, Newsfile continues.
Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
PS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as Colorlink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior. Syntax tank,
Are strong? Are tough? Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
President Mahama says Galamsey is now a national emergency. A national emergency? When did it become a national emergency? We thought it has been a national emergency all along. When the NDC joined organized labor to seek and demand the declaration of a state of emergency, what was the president's understanding of where we stood with Galamsey? An existential threat. So what? It's a national emergency, and so what? Are we going to continue in the normal arrest and seizure of equipment that have yielded little over the years, threatened prosecution of members within his own party without declaring a state of emergency that has been sought for a long time? The Ablekuma rerun violence, the Interior Minister says, is a scar on our collective conscience. And so what? It's been how many days? Over a week after the perpetrators of the violence were splashed on our screens. They have gone viral. Even members of the public have identified these perpetrators of heinous crimes. What has happened? Police can't arrest them. The president has also directed the scrapping of fuel allocations for appointees. They lose their pegs. Is this a trick? In the week when the fuel levy, the Doomsday levy, so-called collection commence. But will the scrapping of the fuel levy for appointees have any impact, if any at all, on the Doomsday levy? Of course, yesterday something happened, so we cannot have the discussion without at least speaking about it. The National Cathedral. How much did it cost? The contract sum in the contract itself is different from the contract sum that the presidency quotes, different from the contract sum that the contractor quotes, according to a Deloitte document. Is it an audit? David Ajay and Associates, who were responsible for the design, how much were they paid? They are asked by the auditors. They give a figure that is different from the figure that the presidency gives. What's at stake? We'll be right back to deal with the vexed matters. Of course, we keep bringing you updates from the NPP's conference.
And Namum was a summer brabo. And it can afford na swabrabo. Can you know na anti sacro? So with this case, and I said, Uchen Sika, our lorry station. Na eya a home say, Neso and ne, Momonti.
Misaka pensions, Caro.
Misaka order Sika.
Misaka
insurance no.
Misaka loan.
Momo Fogusuri Echumaden, the Aboye Nina Yesika Hubai, Se NTN, Ana Momo Jumayeni Befrewa, or the 0244 300,000 and a Befrew. Nenumpo Orim Bitsao, one-time password, and now say Upin code 80 Wonso, Yawa Femoji, Nama Weni Naho, Nawonsa, and Kaumo.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
So, Charlie, the deal there, I almost get her.
Wow. Syntax pipe, as tough as it can get.
You get so solid with your back, sorry. Oh, what you was a thing. What the cat never won. You get catch him. Hey! Now I'm pipe.
Between the pie and carbon.
Hey, madam, pipe menu.
Hey, syntax pipe. Me tono, catch him send a one day pa. Say a fee, say a foam. The other pipe we be a yen gum.
Syntax pipe.
Why leaky?
Come, madam. From today, syntax pipe in my pipe. No 2 ways.
When you know, pipe ben abe use.
SINTEX pipe.
Syntax pipe.
No hala.
Having gone to Translight Solar, really, it's been one wonderful experience. Since the system was installed in my house, my daytime could be somewhere around 20 cedis. And so I've seen a marked reduction in my bills. And because of that, I am not paying as much as I used to do when I was relying solely on the national grid. My house has now become the city on the hill. With this current doomsaw, anytime my area is off, my house is well lit. Everything is on point. And I can get as much as 13 to 14 hours with my ACs and everything working perfectly well. So I can say, as for Translight, they are the truth, the way, and the light. You have to speak to Translight today. In fact, speak to them now, right now.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here. For now. Now I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. And here is something at stake. Stop defending corruption. Let the OSP work. What you are going to see right now on your screens are called mugshots. And guess what? Even President Trump had a mugshot when he got into conflict with the law. They are common in America and in other democracies. Yes, mugshots. The OSP just started to use mugshots for persons facing corruption charges. And suddenly, it is accused of doing the unthinkably lawless act. The principle has always been against publicity of suspects and not persons charged. But guess what? In America, upon arrest, they take the mugshots. The OSP takes mugshots and put them out when it has charged the persons involved. The presumption of innocence, as mandated by the Constitution, is not breached when persons charged are tried in their real names in courts open to the public and not in private, nameless or with fake identities. So what's the big deal? Your prosecution will be in the public. Your prosecution will be in your name and not in some anonymous name. Police have been declaring people wanted for centuries. Mugshots are a centuries-old practice. The OSP does it, declares people wanted, and hell breaks loose. What do we want? Yes, you. What do you want? When did it become an act of incompetence? Because a person suspected of stealing a goat is eventually charged with stealing a cow. How embarrassing to know that, not to know that a suspect could actually be shown by investigations to be innocent after all. So if the OSP started on suspicion of 1 billion and ends up with some hundreds of thousands or millions, what is that? Prosecution actually change charge sheets in the course of trial. Now look at that charge sheet. It was filed by the OSP in the High Court on the 16th of July. Yet yesterday, people, including very seasoned commentators, lambasted the OSP for talking without actually filing charges. The refrain is that the OSP should not be talking. Why did you make a law mandating the OSP not to conduct its operations secretively like other law enforcement agencies, but to talk? I campaign for good governance and against the corruption that enriches a few and impoverishes just far too many of our people. Why will anybody be quick to defend people accused of this kind of corruption? The corruption that deprives them of hospitals, schools, roads, etc. They are quick to ask you to disbelieve the investigator who investigated the facts without providing you with any contrary facts. Often they speak even before the suspect or accused person speak. They seem to celebrate the acquittal of an accused person and are angry that the OSP is appealing a court decision it finds to be a travesty. Why are you so quick to give suspects and even accused persons the benefit of the doubt and not do equally to the OSP at least? Discerning people are observing you. You are better keeping silent than speaking in the manner you do. What do you hate? Is it corruption or the people accused of corruption and the OSP that is pursuing them? Let's face it, the OSP will face problems with those who just took power. They would rather collaborate with former officials facing prosecution because it is not in their interest for the OSP to succeed in blocking their modes and sources of corruption only when they just took power and it is their turn to also loot. Yes. So the two major parties, they will combine forces against the OSP. They say the SP himself, the special prosecutor, hates or has issues with Asimesi. That's why he's pursuing him. Yes. It is an office operated by fallible humans. But give me a break, you nation-wrecking, gullible, poor party loyalists. They tell you these cock and bull stories, and some of you believe them. The office has gone after several dozens of people just to settle personal scores. Is that what you mean? What illogic. Go to the osp.gov.com.gh and inform yourself. They seem to celebrate the acquittal of accused persons and are angry when the OSP is appealing. I'm wondering what goes on with this. Please, let's hate the corruption and support those who fight it, and not rather crucify those who fight it. And that will be my take. We'll be right back.
Still, Misaka, and Nemum was a summer brabo. Any kind of phone swabrabo. Canino, na anti-sacro. So would this case, and I said, Uchen Sika, our lorry station. Na eya a home say, Neso, and ne, Momo in tea.
Misaka pensions, Caro.
Misaka order Sika.
Misaka
insurance no.
Misaka loan.
Momo fogusuri ye echumaden. Di aboye nyina ye sika ho ban. Se MTN ana momo jumaye ni be frewa. Or the 0244 300,000 ene be frew. Na numpo orin bitsaw one time password ana se upin code. Enti wonso ye wa femu die na ma weni na ho na wonsa enka omo.
So, Charlie, the deal there, I almost get her.
Syntax pipe, as tough as it can get.
You get so something with your back, sorry. Oh, what are you? What the cat never won. You can catch him. Hey! Na ampai
utina yanka fire kabo
eh madam pipe menu
eh syntax pipe metono omu kacha am say ne ho odem pa say ye fie say ye fuom ye de pipe ye bia eh ne gam
syntax pipe
wey eliki
come madam from today syntax pipe in my pipe no two ways
winyina pipe be na be use
SINTEX pipe
syntax pipe
ile carry water no hala.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you. making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Having gone to Translight Solar, really, it's been one wonderful experience. Since the system was installed in my house, my daytime could be somewhere around 20 cedis. And so I've seen a marked reduction in my bills. And because of that, I am not paying as much as I used to do when I was relying solely on the national grid. My house has now become the city on the hill. With this current doomsaw, anytime my area is off, my house is well lit. Everything is on point. And I can get as much as 13 to 14 hours with my ACs and everything working perfectly well. So I can say, as for Translight, they are the truth, the way, and the light. You have to speak to Translight today. In fact, speak to them now, right now.
Now let me tell you why you should choose Safari Valley as your conference destination.
The new conference building combines modern amenities with the tranquility of nature, providing the perfect backdrop for your next seminar and corporate retreat.
The only conference destination with so many activities. You don't have to travel to visit your tennis club, the gym, or the stables. They have it all.
Enjoy this rooftop viewing deck, basking in the sunlight with the sight of wild animals roaming freely in their natural habitat.
At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
It's a unique experience that sparks creativity and rejuvenates the mind.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative, underscore that we mean it, your most authoritative news analysis platform. We sift the chaff, the wheat from the chaff on this platform. Thank you very much. My guest joining us, Dr. Ablekuma Kennedy, physician and political activist, joining us from the United States of America on Zoom. We also have Professor Gladys Nyako Ansah, Principal Investigator, University of Ghana Anti-Galamsey Project. President Mahama says Galamsey is a national emergency. We're asking, did he just realize that? We thought he knew about that long before he became president. It's a national emergency, and so what? That's the question we are asking. You make that declaration, but you defer the declaration of a state of emergency, which you joined civil society to call for. Kofi Bento, the rebel, is lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa. I call him rebel because he has a way of framing issues. He has a way of framing the most difficult issues in a very controversial way to, pick your mind and bring your attention to it. And you'll appreciate it. Eric Edem Agbana is MP, Ketu North. Many have been celebrating him for some of the things he's beginning to do in his constituency as a first-timer and a young parliamentarian. Kamaldeen Abdullahi is Deputy National Communications Director of the NPP. We have Dr. Kobna Bonfe Jr., CEO of Census and a lecturer at the UPSA. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for making time to join us on Newsfile.
Good morning.
Right.
Morning.
So I was going to, I had indicated that, of course, we cannot start the show without talking about what has come up as far as the National Cathedral is concerned. But I think it's appropriate that perhaps we rather begin by taking very quick comments on what is happening at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium today. Let's begin with you, Kamal. Where you have sunk as a party, the lowest ever in the history of this country to suffer such a defeat. How are you going to come out of this hole?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning to Kofi Bento. Good morning to my brother Edem Agbana. And good morning to viewers. Samson, since the inception of the Fourth Republican Constitution, parties have actually suffered defeat. Yes, you are right to allude to the fact that we are at our lowest in terms of electoral defeat. However, just not too long ago in 2016, we saw the NDC at their lowest as well. They picked up bits and pieces to the extent that their flag bearer then described the political party he rode on into the election as a lame duck. Okay? So I'm just trying to say that, look, as we evolve, as we move up, obviously, negatives will come your way. And when it comes, it is how emotionally you balance yourself. You go into history, look at what went wrong, then of course rebuild, rejuvenate whatever you have, and then put yourself back, just like the NDC did.
I've seen the proposed amendment to your constitution that is going to be a major, job to do at this conference.
Yes.
And I'm asking myself, is that an admission that you are in shambles? Because 59 separate proposals, detailed proposals, and most of them are asking for expansion of the structures to be more inclusive, and so on and so forth. It tells me like a complete overhaul of your constitution.
You see, what many may not know is that we are actually going back to what we ought to have done in 2019. The proposal to amend our constitution was actually in the offing since then. But we sought to, if you like, prepare ourselves towards the elections that are forthcoming. Until we had 2020 election, now we have 2024. We're unable to do that. Now, one major factor could be...
You had a Congress in Kumasi Sports which was supposed to consider the amendments, and you shelved them.
Absolutely, we shelved them. Right. So it comes as an addendum, what we are doing now, to what we had then. I'm sure that's what gives the voluminous nature of the proposals that we do have. And like I said, yes, having suffered a defeat, having gone into an election, having actually evolved from 1992 till date, a lot has changed. Even the national constitution is seeing some tweaking now.
That's right.
Until it's done, okay? So as we move on, you basically would like to say that, look, we cannot stay put. Differences, look, people who were born in 1992, when the party was birthed, okay, today are about 30-something years. They didn't even know how the tradition traveled to 1992 till we had this. So these new trends would inform this.
Okay.
So it's not like we are in shambles. It's not like the party is completely gone. Yes, we've lost an election. Like I said, NDC lost an election 8 years down the line. Today, they are forgotten.
Okay.
Hold on. So we are on.
Hold on. Let's go to Dr. Atta Kennedy. Dr. Atta Kennedy, you have actually also written a piece criticizing, raising criticisms that are in sync with the suits that two of the members had filed, seeking to actually injunct this particular conference. This conference is useful, and the amendments overhauling the constitution, if they carry, I think I saw proposals by yourself in the proposals, right? Will be good, and an early primaries will also be better to mend the wounds. Won't that be?
Yeah, good morning, Samson, to my fellow panelists and to your cherished viewers. I believe that Mr. Dean is right, that every political organization and even nations have to look at themselves with time and then make change as appropriate.
Okay, Doc, very sorry to inconvenience you. We're going to the grounds to speak to the chair of this project to find out what they are doing. Then we come back to the studio. Yes.
Focus on first, transport. Make sure that every delegate from any part of the country is transported here. We made sure that yesterday, by late evening, every one of them had arrived safely. Then once they arrived here, accommodation. We secured accommodation for every one of the delegates and the regional officers and even national officers who are traveling here. Now then, what will they eat? Arrangements were made that as soon as they arrived, they were being served food. This morning, we'll make sure that the delegates are fed before they come to the conference. I've been here from 7 a.m., making sure that my officers in charge, the subcommittee chair, are all doing their work as they are planned.
I think the security situation has been very improved in terms of what we have seen on the grounds. Tell us, run us through the order of the program and what time is starting, what time is ending, the key highlights, some of the things that are going to go on.
Well, the main agenda is constitutional amendment, but it is customary that before we go to the main agenda, the national chairman will give an address, the general secretary will give a report, and the former senior officers will also give goodwill messages. It is also customary that at a conference like this, other political parties are invited to give farewell messages. So once we're done with all that, we conclude the opening ceremony. Then after that, we cede the place to the delegates only to consider the motions which have been proposed for amending the Constitution.
Before we get into some of those motions, I want to talk to you about some of the key things that have come up. In the lead up to this event, we heard from former President Kufour. One saying that he felt that he had been sidelined by the party was not bringing him on board. And then later we learned that he had written to you and the party asking for this event to be rescheduled because he wanted to be here himself. We know that President Kufour is not going to be here today. President Kufour will also not be here. The two men in your party who have led you to the presidency are not going to be here. They had also raising issues about unity, and they had also said you should have perhaps bended to these two gentlemen, or perhaps President Kufour, who was the first person to lead your party to victory in 2000.
Well, what I do know that at the meeting on which his letter was read, the General Secretary showed evidence that every decision involving the party which required that the former president be around was sent to the persons he had personally delegated to receive those things on his behalf, and he showed evidence that they had actually acknowledged receipt. Probably there's some communication break somewhere between the General Secretary's office, the President's team, and the President. But certainly the evidence did not suggest that there was any attempt by the leadership of the party to keep him out as was put out. But I've also learned over the years that things put out on social media better be investigated. I've not heard the President himself since then. But generally, the General Secretary showed evidence that indeed, maybe, if there's a gap, it's between his own office's secretariat and himself. It is true that he sent a message requesting that council may postpone the conference. I was there when the letter was read. It was discussed, and the general consensus was that, unfortunately, we have gone way too far to halt it.
That's the former president.
Yes, so we rather appointed a delegation to go and explain to him why we may not be able to see to his request. Because it's entirely because we give him so much reverence that rather than communicating by media, we actually appointed the delegation to go to England and go and explain to him that we're not walking over his request, that unfortunately the steps and preparation have gone way too far advanced to be halted.
So let's get back to the Congress, because ultimately the kind of decisions you take here today have a very important bearing on
that. Joseph Osei, Joe Weiss, former Deputy Speaker of Parliament, first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, speaking in that interview with Kwaku Asante. JoyNews has been there since last night, and we are going to keep you updated from when the whistle is blown until they are done with the amendments that they intend to do today, 59 of them. Dr. Atta Kennedy, so my question to you literally was that you have actually described today's event as Delegates Conference as misconceived, and you say it is a step, another step on the NPP's way to irrelevance. What do you mean by that?
Yes, like I was saying, it is appropriate that organizations look at their journey and their history and make amendments. Time is not static. But Samson, I think that we tend to, like kids, blame our bicycles when we fall off instead of acknowledging that maybe we are not riding the bicycle properly. These old constitutions took Kufour to power, took Nada to power. So it is not necessarily our vehicle that is the problem. I do not doubt the motives or intent of those who organize this conference and what they seek to achieve. I am concerned about the process. You just talked about amendments. These amendments, yesterday morning, I reached out. I am told that they were available somewhere. Maybe I didn't know where to find them. I reached out to about 5 party people, including a flag bearer aspirant, for copies, and none of them had copies yesterday morning. That was concerning because generally when these things are done, the final forms of the amendments are sent back to constituencies so that the things that you are referring to this morning should have been in constituencies maybe about a month ago, so people can reflect on them and instruct their constituents. But let me not even quarrel with the details. You hinted in your introduction about picking the flag bearer first and all that, and which is what people have aptly described as top down versus bottom up. It sounds like a curious way of doing business because in a certain sense, you know, a lot of people listening are soccer fans. Soccer is based on current form, and politics to some extent is based on current form. If you pick your flag bearer this early, you know, and in effect we'll be picking the MPP flag bearer, if the rumors are correct, ahead of picking our World Cup soccer team when the World Cup is taking place in 2026. But no Ghanaian will be happy if we picked our World Cup team in January. Why? Because we know that some players may lose form. The analogy is not perfect, but politics in a certain...
Yes, Doc, it's exactly the point. It's not perfect because it's good to pick your coach. Your coach must decide which team you have.
Precisely. But my point, though, is that no coach will pick his team even in January. Why wouldn't he pick the team in January? Because 6 months is a long time. And if you bring that to political analogy, indeed, political parties have always known that in election, with your candidate who is hot. The Canadians have a new Prime Minister, Mr. Carney. Until 6 months ago, most Canadians didn't know him. How did he get to be Prime Minister? They decided that they were facing economic crisis. They were going to deal with Trump. Trump was too close to the Canadian Conservatives. They found a guy who had been governor of Bank of Canada and Bank of England, and within a few months, he was on his way and he became Prime Minister.
Right. This are supposed to be just preliminary comments about this particular, conference today. But you have used this method before, and it took you to power. So what's the point?
Well, that is which method? Picking the flag bearer early?
Yes,
yeah, it is early. Is my point. I'm saying that just like the Canadian example, just like the Republicans picked Lincoln in 1860, just like the Republicans waited till late before picking Trump, all of whom would not have been picked by early congresses because the issues had not developed. I think it is premature to pick a flag bearer that early. And there are rumors that maybe this is being done to advantage particular candidates. It may not be the intent, but I'm just saying that there's widespread belief that that might be the motive.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Arthur Kennedy. Kofi, let's hear from you. What do you make of what they are trying to do today? The major item is constitutional amendment, and there are as many as 59 different proposals, detailed proposals in 303 pages.
it is not the only major item. Let me frame it this way. We always say Charles Darwin said that the survival of the fittest. What he actually said is not that. What he said is that the species that survives is the one that adapts best to its environment. And all through creation, you see that the species that survives is not the strongest, it's not the smartest, the one that adapts best to its environment. Why I'm using this analogy is that, look, from when we started this constitution, 1991, if you take, for instance, the MPP race, they didn't have factions. It was a Dubois and that's it. It was necessary at the time, given the environment, that you build a base and raise from the base the leader. Over 30 years, you have factions. They have hardened. There are people who are still Kufour loyalists in MPP.
Yeah.
All right? They are this loyalists. Here's a simple point. The people will pick their leaders and pick the flag bearer. But if you are a smart organism and you want to adapt, would you want the people to pick the leaders at the base and then later they pick the flag bearer who should now deal with people at the base who may or may not be aligned with him? Or you will pick the leader at the top and let the leader at the top pick his team to prosecute the agenda that will give you the ultimate. I think the latter is smarter. I think given the circumstance now, you are better off picking the leader at the top and let him influence the picking of the team. How is that controversy? How is that controversial? And I don't see why you will pick people at the base and then later pick the man at the top who may not be able to work with the people down. We saw what happened in Mr. Foko's time. A party became moribund. They became immobilized for more than a year because the top was not working with the base. And who says that's a sensible thing to repeat? So in short, look, let's leave it to them. It's their business. But in analysis, it makes every sense to me that you pick the man at the top and you let him influence the team he is going to work with to prosecute the agenda. Rather than impose something on him, then he has to create a parallel system to work with, and then all chaos is
interesting. Adam.
Something.
Yeah.
A healthy democracy requires that all parties must be at their best for country and above party interest.
Are you pretending you are not excited that the NPP is decimated?
So something. We in the NDC have also gone through this phase before. When we lost the 2016 elections, the party engaged in deep internal reflection. After the Kwesi Botwe Committee report, we decided to diagnose our problem from the base all the way to the top. We also engaged in some constitutional amendments, and I can say that our victory in 2024 started with the reorganization of the party in 2017. Something, reforms are necessary for growth in every organization. And in 2016, when the NDC decided to expand the electoral college to include all members of the party, we saw the results. It resulted in the NDC losing many seats, including seats that used to be our strongholds. So the party had to reverse back to the traditional electoral college, which resulted in us making some gains in 2020 by increasing our seats from 106 to 137. And in 2024, today we have 188 seats in parliament. So I can only wish the NPP well in their reorganization. We want to see them at their best, because for our democracy to thrive, we don't want a system where only one political party is strong. We need to have all the parties strong, principled, and parties that are resilient. It is only that can guarantee a strong opposition that will propel the national development that we are seeking. We wish them well, my prayer is that it should be a very peaceful exercise. I've seen some of the proposals or the proposed amendments. I am tempted to believe that majority of the proposals are going in the line of calling for expansion in the electoral college. We'll leave the decision to them. But even the NDC, though we are the party in power, even though we have this super majority in parliament, even as a party in power, we are also still undertaking some internal reflections on how to reorganize ourselves so that the party will be stronger than it is today. So I'm saying we wish the NPP well. That's all I can say.
It's important.
Okay.
It's important.
Expansion of the electoral college is a very important issue, and I think that it is one issue that both parties appear to agree, because it does one thing. It is intended to help to reduce the monetization of your elections, particularly for flag bearership. I know that the CDD, for example, is working towards eventually a political party financing law, so that it will relieve you guys from having to spend so much, because you have, if you're going for MP, there are a number of delegates, and it is very easy to influence them. So everybody is buying TV set and whatever for each person, giving each person. Somebody said you give each person 10,000 or 20,000 each. And even when it comes to the flag bearership, at the point where it has been expanded, you still hear your flag bearer hopefuls making their calculations on how much they have to spend per delegate. So that one, all of you are happy about it, right?
You see, something, there's this erroneous impression out there, which we must correct. First of all, nobody says that we are introducing a novelty called top-down approach. No. Why? When you take our constitution, for instance, the current constitution for this amendment, Article 13.1 mandates us to have our flag bearer 24 clear months before the next general election. That's one. Two, do we have polling station executives in good standing per the Constitution, because they have 4 years mandate or 10 in office? It ends in March 2026. By the Constitution, we ought to have done this election even in December. By our Constitution as it stands. So, you see, this narrative of someone saying that there's a novelty in there, says, let's go out and elect top-down. Point is, you have a Constitution which regulates you. The Constitution says that when you are in opposition, elect your leader 24 clear months before the general election. It says that the delegates to elect are constituted already. We have the polling station executives.
You can't change the current delegates before doing the presidential primaries. You can't.
If strictly we are to go by the law, okay, the current delegates' mandate at polling station level ends in March
of 2026.
26. And then constituency ends somewhere in April. Regional ends somewhere in May or so. And national ends somewhere in July. Now, it means that we have a set of executives running the party as a
by the Constitution.
And by the Constitution,
you should have a presidential candidate.
Yes, 24 clear months before. Okay. So, point is, if we are going for an election today, and we didn't do it, you see, the proposal was not done for December because the Constitution again tells you that you ought to open the nomination 1 clear month, 6 months before even the said election is done. That is the primaries. That is why we thought that, okay, if we shift it to move it to, say, January, which, of course, National Council has the mandate to vary the date.
So the bottom-up proposal is rather intended to change the status quo.
Absolutely. Now,
it's not that you have actually turned.
If we are to go by what the Constitution says and the law says, then, of course, we are mandated to even have that done.
Okay.
You get what I mean? Okay. So, you see, this point... That is the point well made. I don't know how the narrative went out there.
We need to move on.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we need to move on. Thank you very much. Really Prof, I'm sure we have to leave you out of this, except that they have invaded your campuses. They have invaded your campuses today, and they won't allow you guys, some the serene atmosphere we know about Legon last night, today, and tomorrow. Prof, do you want to say something?
Hello. Hello? Can I be heard?
Hi. Yes, let's hear you, Dr. Bonfe.
Okay, so interesting conversations we're having. But I think that as somebody with the experience of having run a political party before, what I would say is that in party organization, what is important is to stick to the principles of your constitution. And if your constitution requires of you to do something within a certain period, you comply with it. This notion of waiting for some particular delegates or members, parties exist at all times. The party exists in a continuum. So at any point in time, the members or the delegates of the party, the members who constitute the delegates, are supposed or entitled to take decisions. I want to fault a point that my brother from MPP, Nuruddin, he made.
Kamal.
Hello? Kamal Dean, yes, thank you. Forgive me, Kamal. 24 months to the next general elections will be December 2026, not December 2025. But that said, I think that whatever it is, if you say not more than 24 months, it can be within the period that you are organizing that. Okay. And I think Kofi Bento's proposition or argument, yes, it may sound good, but it also comes with a lot of dangers. What I recall a former chairman of the MPP, the late B.J. Darocha, once said was that I don't have to be your friend to be in the party with you. So this notion of getting delegates aligned necessarily with or support necessarily who becomes flag bearer, it's neither here nor there. The important thing is that even if I did not support Dr. Kobna Kennedy and the party generally agrees on him to be our flag bearer, I am duty bound to support him. Any member who disagrees or defies the party order would be brought in line. For me,
did you see how chaotic the thank you tour that was supposed to be led by the flag bearer turned into?
Because it was poorly organized. The problem was not the issue or the conduct of the thank you tour, but the manner in which it was done. If you don't organize and coordinate and have strict rules by which you do it, or you're supposed to do it, you will have challenges.
What was the bad thing about it? That you bring in the other candidates to join the flag bearer. Even though it's the flag bearer's job, you bring in the other candidates, and you bring in the other candidates, and every place they get to, there is division. People want to show this is my side, this is my side, and everybody wants to make comments that show that they are better for the next election. Mm-hmm.
So again, it comes to the issue that I raised about coordination and organization. Samson, you cannot have candidates ad infinitum or say that somebody will remain a candidate forever. You are a candidate to a particular elections. Once the elections are over, everybody remains a member of the party. Here you are talking about a former flag bearer leading the party to go and say thank you. So it is not just even about that person. If some former aspirants are coming in, they're coming in to follow what the former flag bearer is leading. And it is not supposed to be in a manner where they will be competitive.
So what did the organizers do wrong? You say it was poorly organized. What did they do wrong?
By not giving the rules of engagement. That you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You must do it this way. This is the person leading. You sincerely
think that was what was lacking?
I believe so. And I believe that if you are organizing a political party, sometimes you need to be firm.
Okay.
And insist that talking points are agreed on even before you go out. People can stray into
okay,
other areas, but largely.
So the conference is for the whole day and perhaps the next day. So let's move on to our issues that we want to discuss. But it's only fair that Dr. Atta Kennedy wants to say something quickly. Dr. Atta Kennedy, what do you want to say in some 30 seconds?
Yes, respectfully to Mr. Kufour Bentel, the MPP and indeed all political parties always have factions. It is not correct that in the early part of the MPP, there were no factions. We've had factions all the way back to when Buzia was there. And every historian in the MPP will tell you that when Adubuahin was there, there was an Adubuahin wing, or as they call it, it later became, it was from the Pauli side of the family. Then there was the Kufour wing, it came from the Victor Usu side of the family. Actually, the 1979 split was a split of factions in our party. So the idea that a party must have a leader like a CEO and everybody who is picked should be to his liking is a fallacy.
Okay.
In actual fact, the crisis in the party was because Nadal flouted our constitution.
Okay.
So respectfully, I think that Mr. Bentel needs to do his homework a little more about factions.
Okay.
And if we're going to NDC to ask for their support, why can't we work with our own members?
Thank you, Dr. Atta Kennedy. Now we'll move on to the other issue we wanted to touch on briefly before we go to Galamsey, we go to Ablekuma North, and then the PECs, freebies for fuel that have been scrapped, and then they don't want us to say Dumsa Levy. That's a sexy name, so we'll keep it. Yes. All right. So Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, the government spokesperson, addressed the press yesterday in the evening, and this is what he had to say about the National Cathedral. The Secretariat, it's scrapped.
It bears noting that available evidence indicates that, contrary to the widely held view that total payments and commitments to the National Cathedral project amounts to $58 million so far, there is actually an additional outstanding payment of $39 million due the contractor. Now, when added up, this brings the total costs incurred so far for the whole that sits at the site of the project to $97 million. Also, due to the lopsided nature of the contract, additional costs continue to accrue daily, despite the cessation of work on the project since March 2023. President John Dramani Mahama has directed that the following steps be taken. 1. The National Cathedral Secretariat, which used to operate from here at the presidency, stands dissolved as of 1st May 2025. Now, the National Cathedral Ghana was registered limited by guarantee. In view of that, the Attorney General has been directed to take legal steps to ensure the dissolution of the Board of Trustees. And we expect that to be done in the coming days. Now, 3, the President has ordered that in the interest of transparency and accountability, the Deloitte and Touche audit reports will be published immediately after this briefing.
Right. So, I don't know if I should start with Adam, but because he's in government, let him hear from others and have the opportunity to respond. So, Kamaldeen, you've seen the document that has been put out by the presidency, and they are raising issues about conflicting figures, the actual amount, as it were, for David Ajayi, who did an associate who did the design. They were asked how much they were paid. They quoted 117 million, almost 118 million. The presidency was asked how much David Ajayi was paid. President quoted 113 million. So there's almost 5 million difference. And they are raising issues about that. That obviously shows that things were not done well. When it comes to the contract, the project itself, they show us the document which also shows that the amount that was on the contract itself, the executed contract, the contract that was signed, is 261 million. It's almost 262 million US dollars. But the confirmation from the Office of the President puts the figure at 286 million US dollars. Then the progress status report of the project as at August 2024 gives a different figure, lesser than what the Jubilee House gives, which is 268 million. So they're asking questions. The IPC submitted for final payment, that estimated final contract value is also different. It's 283 million. And then other issues, are raised. The David Ajayi, and associate figures I mentioned is in Ghana cedis.
Samson, I will set off here for want of time to ask fundamental questions. Who commissioned Deloitte & Touche? I guess government of Ghana to audit. What are the components of an audited, if you like, account or institution? What's supposed to be the outcome? First of all, you need to look at the financial statement, and I guess it's very important. What is the opinion of the auditor? Okay, on that. Now, if we have these two components forming auditing properly so-called done, question is, has anyone been faulted, okay, of misappropriation of whatever he has done untoward, apart from these discrepancies of, if you like, figures that we're mentioning, but has money gone down the drain that someone ought to be faulted for that? I'm here to find out if this, audit report has established such.
So in the figures I mentioned, they speak about, they make a recommendation for reconciliation of the differences.
Good.
They want management, as in the board, to reconcile these differences. We will ask a substantive question. Yes. If this is actually an audit report, or it is towards an audit report.
So that's the point now. So I am trying to find out if auditing has been done, concluded, financial statement looked at, opinion of the auditor given, nobody is faulted. What next? Okay, so these noises that we made before the election, we must retrieve our money. Monies have been misappropriated. This has been done. Has this audit report revealed same? These are fundamental questions, but of course, it's a going concern. And I think that, yes, when we are going to rely on what we call, management letter, which talks about controls within and all that, and how things ought to be done properly, okay, it's a different matter. But as to whether or not some misappropriation has been done, some money has gone down the drain, somebody has pocketed something he's not supposed to pocket, we have to establish that and find out. Okay, so if that is not done, I don't think I can sit here, or we can sit here to point accusing fingers at anyone. At all.
Some will say, yes, this may be a management letter, but it is concerning that if you take the payments to the Nehemiah group, which are supposed to help in some fundraising, the confirmation as to payments made from the Office of the President was for US dollars 4,281,281.
Okay.
Confirmation from the Nehemiah group is 4,384,000 US dollars. So there's a difference of 60,000 US dollars. People are saying, whatever it is, whether a final report or not, it's concerning that you should have these discrepancies.
I haven't said management letter is not important. It is. But however, it doesn't form as part of the components of an audit properly done. Point is, we can bring suggestions. These are things that we have noticed. Discrepancies here and there. Controls are not put right. Going forward, you ought to put this right. Does that constitute a wrongdoing? Is a fundamental question. Now, for someone to now go out there, let's lash at this person. Let's pontificate. Let's call the person a thief. Let's say somebody has pocketed what is not due him. Okay, I think that is grossly unfair to whoever.
And this project is already under investigations by the OSP and some other quarters, as we understand.
Absolutely. So these are materials that even will have to come out to assist, okay, in the ongoing investigation.
The secretariat is dissolved. It used to operate from the presidency. It's gone. And the president has ordered the attorney general to take steps to also dissolve the board, as in the company, the trustees. And then the auditor general is being requested to do a forensic audit.
Well, like I said, it's a going concern. And again, like I said, government upon governments have their own policies and vision. Now, if the president of the day thinks that, look, Ghana doesn't need a cathedral. Ghana doesn't need a secretariat there. I need to use it for a different purpose. Obviously, it stands to reason that, look, you dissolve it, you take steps to see how you're going to, I don't know whether they're going to wind up the company. I don't know whether they're going to actually put the company off the registrars general's list, or how the dissolution going to be done.
That's what they are seeking.
I really don't know.
Completely get it out.
And then maybe give a new direction.
Because they are repurposing the project.
Absolutely, and give a new direction to it. But what I find much interesting is having had this report from Deloitte and Touche, okay, and you're looking at also the Auditor General now. The question I ask, where was the Auditor General when you wanted to do forensic audit? That's the question. Why did you need someone to do an audit? Done, whether you are satisfied or not satisfied, now you now say, okay, let me now spend resources again, get the state machinery to go and do forensic audit. Why must we spend this?
This report covers 2021 to 2023.
Okay.
December 2023.
Very well. But of course, it's an audit done. Now, government again is saying we need now to have forensic audit done by the Auditor General. I am only asking why we could not have done that earlier. Must we expend resources like this? I mean, that's just the way to go. But I think that nonetheless, if we had a good intention to put up a national cathedral, just like we had a national prayer recently where we were looking for venue and we had to use, the Independence Square or where?
It was in the Jubilee House.
It was in the Jubilee House, very well, where we had to use the Jubilee House. And of course, some even had to come out to say, look, if we had a facility like that, why not? Such monuments exist in areas. Recently, I was following the president of Kenya, who also has, and I said, has this man not studied from Ghana? He said he also wants to build a national cathedral for Kenyans. Okay, and a whole lot of issues came out of it. But I'm saying that, look, the intention, the good intention that accompanied whatever the president then wanted about this project, okay, should actually be held in high esteem.
Okay.
We should know that it was an important, facility we needed. However, of course, it came with its own challenges and problems. But we should not conclude when we have not done proper investigation by pointing, accusing fingers, when, of course, we don't even have what it says, evidence to prove.
What do you have to say? They point out breaches of law, including breaches of the PPA, Public Procurement Act, non-compliance with laws and regulations, single source tendering for the architects. I remember Imani raised serious issues about that at the beginning. Bright Simmons, was on this show to say that the percentage he was being paid was just outrageous and he didn't deserve that. The PPA actually reduced it to about 10% or so from, is it 12 or 13%? They have raised issues about inaccuracies in the confirmation responses. They have raised issues about the differences in the mobilization fees They have raised issues about non-renewal of signed agreement for the Nehemiah Group. There was a loan that was taken from the Reverend Ministers, JNS Talent Center. There was no agreement to that, among other things. How significant or material is what you are reading from this disclosure?
Extremely significant, extremely material for a poor country which cannot supply water to even its capital. Most, and I mean more than 50% of places in Accra don't have running water 24/7. So for a country like this to have leaders who elect to use our money this way is extremely irresponsible. But the other thing that should be said is that a lot of the things that are being said in this report, are not new. Samson, you and I sat here. And please, Samson and I, we've been Christians for about 40 years. And we are not talking about just going to church for nothing. All right? And we know what we went through when we were saying before. It's important because, you see, when you see the thing before, then nobody can say you are surprised. We said this was not proper. It shouldn't be done. It will be a waste. There will be probes after. We said all these things. They have come to confirm all of those things now. Honestly, I agree with the people who say, please stop the charade, go ahead and prosecute them. Go ahead and call people to book. Because there are many edifices, they spent almost $100 million. And what we have left is that hole. Okay? Go ahead, find the people who spend the money, let them come and confirm it. I think there is a risk here. The risk is over-prosecution. I think this government is trying to make a huge noise and actually denigrate people. I always say that charade is easy. The media stuff, publications here and there, sensational news, who do this, who didn't do that, and that kind of thing. The difficult work is going down, determining where crimes were committed, determining who misappropriated funds, and it's not everything that is a crime. The fundamental point is that when somebody spends money, the person should come and prove why they spend that money. And if they made a bad choice, there is causing financial loss to the state. Then you have the issue of the persecution of the Reverend Ministers. Let me be clear about this. Again, like I say, the host and myself, we have great respect for our Reverend Ministers. But we said it before time, that here is somebody who said he has made a personal vow to God. And now he's proceeding to use public funds to do what he has promised to do to God. And it was wrong. We said, do not lend your Bibles, your cassocks, or your collars to these politicians who are embarking on an ill-fated and godless journey. We said it will cause trouble. So here's the point. They will never be vindicated. I don't have a doubt that some of the Reverend Ministers were not corrupt. I don't have a doubt about that. I still respect them. Okay? But for lending themselves to this and not speaking truth to power and not standing up for what I believe they knew was not exactly right, they will never be forgotten. They will never be forgiven. History will show that at a point like this, they supported this wrong thing in the name of God and cost this country almost $100 million, broke down buildings and left a hole.
Is it fair to speak to what you may call a management letter in terms of a concluded audit report?
No. And again, that's where I see that we are going to have a whole issue with management letters, audit reports, and that kind of thing. Sometimes we overdo these things. And then you're having press conferences. The records are there. Let me tell you the fundamental record you need. You need to find out how much money was spent and who spent it. All right? Even if you don't have an audit report from Deloitte or wherever, $20 million went to A. Call the person and ask the person to defend that expenditure. And like we said, we checked. Look, respect to David J. I don't think he has had many of these kinds of projects which paid him that kind of money at that stage in the project.
He was sole sourced.
Exactly.
Meaning.
No, wait. The sole sourcing.
He
was the only person in this whole
job.
world capable of doing that. That's not what I'm saying. Even if he was the only person capable of doing that, I don't think he has had that many. Wherever he's worked in the world, where they paid him these kinds of fees at this stage of any project, that is clearly inappropriate. And sole sourcing, why? Why? We have a whole, and there were issues about he not being registered in Ghana and all those things.
Right.
And for me, the important point is, you see, when we come and sit here, we say all these things and put ourselves at risk. And then at the end of the day, the verdict is out and the things we said have happened. I think people should take note of it, okay? So that we can avoid these things tomorrow, because Bright and myself and other people who take time to go into these things and come up with these things, we don't do them necessarily for the fun of it, but to warn. So please.
Atimani, are you guys still at that position expressed by Bright that, you know, the presidency had written for the sole sourcing and quoted, you know, the total amount for David Ajay and Associates at $23,750,000 US, and somehow the Public Procurement Authority, you know, beat it down to $21,375,000, you know, US. You guys still believe this was too much?
Absolutely. Charlie, this is $23 million of poor people's money. And I started by saying we live in a country which can't supply water to its capital city. Even if we had that money, is that the best use of that money? And all due respect again to Sir David Ajay, I had meetings with the president, the engineers, I've forgotten their name, but they have architects.
Rebad.
At the point they said that man was not registered and should not be able to practice in Ghana.
Okay, the Architects Association.
Architects Association. So, I mean, we went back and forth. The point is, we still stand by the point that there is no justification for spending $21 million of poor people's money for designing a cathedral we did not need. And we are saying, look, stop the charade about it's good to audit and all those other things. The simple point, find who spent money, whether it's the president, the minister of finance, or whoever, and call that person in to defend the expenditure of the money. And if you don't agree with them, put them before court, prosecute them for causing financial loss to the state.
You agree with the dissolution of the secretariat and the processes towards disbanding the company?
But they should make sure they do it well so we don't end up with residual problems. Unfortunately, like I said, I will continue to respect the reverend ministers who were part of this. But yes, they deserve every opprobrium that is coming their way.
Okay.
They should not have done that, and everybody should take it.
So let me go to Dr. Bonfe. And I don't know if he may also bring a bias, because he went to the Supreme Court, actually, to try and make a point that the state should not be doing this. The state went to the Supreme Court, led by the Attorney General then, Godfrey Dame, to tell the Supreme Court that the state was not spending money on it. Yes. What do you make of what is happening now?
Very difficult.
This issue brings to the fore the hypocrisy I have often said we live in this country. Samson, you are right. I went to court, and if you followed the case, and I believe you did, among the things that we were seeking and the evidence that we presented before the Supreme Court, if you look at the judgment that came sometime in 2019, effectively they ignored some of the facts that we presented before them. The fact that Parliament had given a seed money of $25 million towards the building of the cathedral, which was tied to the celebration of Ghana's 60th anniversary independence celebration, had given offices to the trustees or the board of trustees in the office of the president, Jubilee House. In fact, the Supreme Court, in its judgment, said that was not a big issue since they could be relocated outside that place. at the heart of what our case was trying to foist a particular religion on the country over and above other religions in a secular, plural, religious setting as ours, where we even have the right to choose not to believe in anything at all. But as a country, and the organs of state, Parliament endorsed it. In fact, after which the Supreme Court endorsed it. And then the people of this country at the 2020 general elections endorsed it. That is where we are. You see, and again, I think Kamaldeen raised the issue. The Auditor General's outfit, what have they said about it? If it is about funds and auditing, how did Deloitte and Touche come in? And at whose expense? How do we reconcile that with the Auditor General's outfit? And then we heard recently that persons from the office of the president said they were going to turn the National Cathedral project into a national cultural center or convention, whatever it is. And then the government spokesperson is now telling us that they are dissolving the board of trustees and so on and so forth. Somehow, there are legal issues involved. And as I will join in what Kofi said, that we must be careful how we go about things. This whole project, I think it's almost like the proverbial going to mount the tiger and realizing too late that we are on a very dangerous beast.
They were warned.
And now the task is how to unmount or get off the tiger and be safe. We have to be very careful.
We were raising issues, and the Secretariat of the National Cathedral decided to have an audit. So they commissioned this.
Okay.
What is wrong in doing so? And why are we taking a management letter as though it was a final audit report?
So that, I mean, I didn't know this. You have provided information. So what we need to know as a people is that this report has come from Deloitte and Touche based on public interest requests that they wanted to show that they were clean. Fine, that has been done. So it means that it is at the expense of the management of the project. Now, what has the Auditor General's outfit also got to say about it? Because they were operating as a public office.
It is now that the president. It is now that the president is directing the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana to conduct a forensic audit.
Well, but something. The point I'm raising is that did the Auditor General's outfit have to wait? Has to wait for the president to instruct them?
I get your point.
Is it not routine that public funds that are expended by offices and officers are audited by the Auditor General? So these are some of the issues that I think that we all need to be clear about. But more important, we need to stop running this country as theater. The theatricals are too many. Look, I recall the fanfare that accompanied or associated the cutting of sword of this. And I can tell you, if President Kufour had decided that for his personal pledge to God, he was, as president then, going to lead in his private capacity with supporters of his to put up a monument in honor of God, but now this project would have been finished. But drawing in the state, and I can tell you, the Attorney General at the time came to the Supreme Court, and if you look at the documents, they were not sincere in trying to dispute some of the arguments that we have put out. And as I said, the Supreme Court chose to ignore a number of facts that we have put before them, and this is where we are today. All I can say is that, Galatians 6 verse 7 says that do not make a mistake about it. God cannot be mocked. Whatever one, sows is what we will reap. The way we are going about our country, the way we are running ourselves, more than 71% Christians, about 19% Muslims, all supposed to be adherents of two spiritual and very sacred documents, the Quran and the Bible. If we were faithful to them, But even 10%, many of the problems we have in this country will not be with us. But unfortunately, what we are interested in is the form and not the substance.
What a note to end your submission. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, what do you make of what is happening now? Now the Secretariat is, dissolved and processes are ongoing to completely, as it were, wind up the trustee. And these matters are also coming up, and the Auditor General is being asked to investigate. We are being told that there's a need for the Auditor General to do a forensic audit, also because there are payments that are not captured in this particular audit, which have actually shown that we owe more than we were told we have spent so far, and so on and so forth.
Well, Samson, I want to salute Kofi Benton. Wonderful submission. I salute you, and to yourself for the work that you did. And Dr. Bomfe. Nothing has shaken my confidence in the common sense of Ghana's leadership more than the National Cathedral. From the president who conceived it, to the cabinet who saw nothing wrong with it, to the parliament that gave its seed money, to the religious leaders who signed off on it and lent their good name to it, it is unconscionable for a country that cannot get clean water, for a government that couldn't even complete the Kufour market, for a country who have kids who go to school under trees. Somebody said we should point accusing finger. I am pointing an accusing fist. This is, if there ever was causing financial loss to the state, this is it. It's a textbook case. $100 million of a poor country like Ghana's money into this project. So it broke my heart, because the government ought not to be in the business of building cathedrals. Everybody knows that. And Dr. Bomfe talks about the Supreme Court. We had a politicized Supreme Court that was signing off on things that the government was doing. We had people in Parliament who wouldn't stand up and ensure that the right things are done. Our government shouldn't be building cathedrals or mosques. It shouldn't be paying for people going to Mecca. We know these things. These are fundamentals. And the Deloitte and Touche management letter is stopped there as a management letter, because I have been CEO before. When you get a management letter, it means that the auditor is looking for things from you, either documents or explanations or contextualizing things, so he can finish his work. That Deloitte and Touche report said for 2 years, the board of directors had made material significant statements in which the facts did not reconcile and there were no supporting documents. That's why the thing stopped there. And you know that National Cathedral Board itself didn't want to release the audit report. They were just waving it at us and saying, see, there was no wrongdoing found. The whole National Cathedral is a crime scene from conception to the end. And yes, there are people who may only be embarrassed for moral failings, but there was a lot of legal wrongs that went on there. Let the National Cathedral stand as a sentinel in the night, warning about what arrogance and power and hubris and people full of themselves who have lost their moorings about the national interest can do to our republic. It is a disgrace. And Mr. Dean, on behalf of the MPP, should have been apologizing. There is no redeeming feature in this thing from beginning to end. You fault
the NPP as a group. You fault Parliament. You had majority of the MPP MPs standing up to speak up against what was going on. And they won't be listened to. What else did you want them to do? I stood there, used this platform, I spoke, I did my Samson's take. My very first take on the cathedral was to reveal how judges' bungalows were being destroyed. Bungalows that were only a year old, some were just about to be completed. And I had reverend ministers, big bishops, countering me and telling me that these were old and dilapidated. Meanwhile, judges were talking to me. I was visiting and seeing that the judicial service was doing a contract they were owing, and their voices overcame mine. And I couldn't be speaking against men of God, so to speak.
But Samson, we are not in the Middle Ages. Martin Luther ended that. We can all read the Bible. You remember on your show a few years ago, I said confidently that the National Cathedral, I was very confident God wouldn't have supported it. Why? Because we all read the same Bible. I am saying that the men of God who are countering you owe you an apology if they are true to their conscience and to their God.
Okay, so we will go to an aspect about what difference it actually makes a management letter and the final audit report. But Adam, this is where we are. And when Kufour was talking, I got really hated. The Amawus, OFORI-ATTA got angry at me because all I was saying was this was a prime place. We had important installations there, very expensive. All I was saying is, why can't you find another land? Why will you destroy new bungalows and then go and build another one elsewhere at our cost for them? And it wasn't good for me. Here we are.
Well, something we need to pivot the conversation on the National Cathedral properly. From the very inception, the project was presented as a symbol of national unity and spiritual reverence. And so I know many people, even within my party, who out of fear of appearing to be against something spiritual, something that is of God, decided not to speak.
Some isolated Okujeto.
Some isolated the Honorable Okujeto Ablekuma, who I have worked with, and so I am privy to some of the conversations about even some leading members of our society who were on him, asking him to stop his advocacy against the National Cathedral. But
at a point, what he was doing because seemed it would go against the NDC in elections.
In elections, because they thought it was an advocacy against God or some spiritual reverence. Also because of the personalities involved, including some of the very high-profile men of God that we have in this country.
And your friends are talking about prosecution.
Yes.
And we are being told that as for prosecution, forget it, because the NDC will not have the courage to prosecute these big men of God heading churches that command millions.
I can tell you on authority that when the forensic audit is done, anyone found to have misappropriated public funds, whether you are the biggest pastor in this country, whether you are a revered man of God, the person will be facing the full rigors of the law. But let me get back to the conversation. Something I spent last night reading the audit report, and the audit report has come to remove the veil around this whole project. And so it is no more a project, a conversation about architecture of faith. It is a conversation of accountability and how well we respect the public purse of the Republic. Because when you read the report, the audit report, something right from the beginning to the end, there were many issues that beats your mind. And some of these issues have been mentioned by the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye in his statement. For example, we are talking about the cost. Initially, what many of us knew was that $58 million was spent on the project. And so we all said $58 million was spent digging a whole, and we describe the whole as very expensive. But the audit report is telling us that as we speak, the contractor is still owed about $37 million. And so it brings the cost to close to $97 million. But that is not all. Because something like you said, the conversation should not even start from the project itself. Let's start the conversation from the site and the location. Because there are so many extra costs. For example, the national, the judges' bungalows were demolished. The state had to spend extra money relocating all these judges. That also came at a cost, and that is not captured in this report. The scholarship secretariat was demolished. Today, the scholarship secretariat is operating in a structure in one of the senior high schools in Accra. And when you visit there, you see the congestion in that office. Ghana's National Scholarship Secretariat was also demolished. Beyond this, as these state properties, there were private. We also had private properties, private companies. Very expensive. Some are still in court. Some have sued the government, and they are expecting hundreds of millions of dollars to be paid. And so, from the very inception of the project, this whole project was built on grand deception, and we must not allow faith and our reference for God to blind us from getting into the issues. Because this project started
grand deception.
Grand deception because President Akufo-Addo told us that it was his personal pledge to God. And something, let's be fair, all of us as politicians, we make personal pledges to God in elections. And so I may promise God that when you grant me victory in my elections, I will donate to building a church project, or I will donate to some orphanage, or what have you. These are personal things that you do, and you pay from your personal resources. And so this project was supposed to begin as a personal project, personal resources of President Akufo-Addo. Then all of a sudden, a project that was supposed to be his personal pledge to God now transformed into a national project that was even when Kabila went to court, and they even lied to the court that it was going to be personal resources and donations from churches and what have you. Something, many churches in this country donated towards the project. I recall the Pentecost Church, for example, donated several millions that they could have used to support some of their members to access higher education. Millions they could have used to provide water for some communities that their churches are located in that they cannot find water to drink. When you come to my constituency, I have a big Pentecost church at Dekpo. In Dekpo, there is no water. But people in Dekpo also contributed because there was a national directive by the church that all of you every Sunday contribute some amount of money towards the building of the National Cathedral. All of this went on, and as we speak, the audit report is telling us that all the financial laws were breached. For example, it is basic knowledge that the PPA Act says that a PPA must give approval before a contract is awarded. But in this case, the payment vouchers that were presented indicated that payments were made in September, PPA approval was given in December.
The PPA law allows for ratification. Something can be done ahead, and then you go and get a ratification.
But the ratification cannot be done in a vacuum.
That's right.
There must be justification. For example, in a medical emergency where maybe the procurement of a certain drug will save lives, it is permitted that you may engage in the procurement and go for ratification. But tell me what emergency occasioned in this national cathedral
business.
We
need to be quick about this. I wanted to know why your government is projecting a management letter as though it was the conclusive, finding.
No, we are not. We are not. What happened? What I can tell you, what happened is that something from last week, what we started seeing a certain propaganda in the media. The Secretariat of National Cathedral, the National Cathedral Secretariat, took portions of the report which says the report represents a true and fair representation of the financial statement.
Was it MPP members who were doing this, or was it?
Even the pastors, MPP members, pastors, members of parliament, I can mention some of them. They started circulating that aspect. Meanwhile, in basic accounting, we all know that when they say this report it represents a true and fair assessment or view, it doesn't mean that there are no irregularities. So when you go deeper into the report, we decided to chronicle all the other issues that the report listed, which management is unable to respond to. Now, government has decided...
Why did you, in replying those people who were circulating that, why did you, in replying them, depend on the management letter rather than the audit report itself?
The audit report was published, and if you paid attention to Felix's statement, press conference yesterday, he stated even in the press release that he was going to release the audit report after the press conference, and he published it even on his Facebook. Now, when you go into the report, that is where all the issues have been well explained. Issues about donations, for example, as much as 38 million Ghana cedis through mobile money donations were said to have been reversed or unsuccessful. And the third party, so the telcos are supposed to tell us that indeed, if I tried sending 100 Ghana cedis to Kofi Bentel, and later Kofi says the money or the transaction was unsuccessful, there should be evidence of a reversal to me. Okay. But all this evidence has not been, they've not been able to provide it. So we have occasioned a forensic audit. Now, forensic audit and an audit, the slight difference is that the forensic audit will allow the auditors to target very specific issues and go into the details. And this will bring out the individuals involved, which people made the payment, and anyone who flouted the laws.
Thank you.
I'm saying again on authority that regardless of their stature in society, they will face the full
whatever happens. We must end this on the hour. And I want to go to Prof. Prof, do you have something briefly to say before we get to an expert to tell us the difference between the management letter and the audit itself? Okay, Professor Samuel Entry, Pro Vice Chancellor, Lead Expert Auditing, UPSA. Thank you for joining us. Can you help us understand what is going on? What value should we put on a management letter, if that is what you are reading?
Okay, so good morning, Samson.
Good morning.
And good morning to your listeners and viewers. And my friend Adam and Co, I greet all of you. So we will do a little bit of classroom work this morning. An auditor starts his work. Let's appreciate that he is an independent person to express an opinion, independent opinion on the financial activities and operational activities of our organization. So this is why we are looking at the National Cathedral. So what the auditor does is to review documents, financial statements, etc. As he goes through the process of auditing, he raises queries. Those queries are sent to management to respond. Then management will respond. As part of the audit report, we are going to have detailed work in what we call a management letter. So the auditor says, okay, you have spent 1.5 million cedis. I didn't have evidence of supporting documents. Can you provide it? Management will respond. So that becomes the management letter, which has the query, the response, and then the audited conclusion of the matter. So when you read the report well, the management letter is being circulated. You find out that sometimes that says, you could not explain enough. So I don't have enough evidence to agree with you. And at the point of signing the report, you've not been able to convince me. So the main audit report sometimes just about 2 pages or a 1-page document attached to the annual financial statement. And it's a very technical document that you may not find a lot of details in it. But the meat of an audit work is always in the management letter, which has the responses of management and which has the conclusion of the auditor on a specific matter. And a lot of the attempts we read, you find out that the auditor disagrees with the board or the management in their response. Sometimes they couldn't even produce any evidence. And the auditor concludes that, look, the issue I raised, yes, I responded on something, but I'm not convinced. And therefore, the matter is set hanging. So probably the forensic audit will now get into details of things that the auditor did not agree with. Let's remember that in an audit opinion, the auditor looks at a balance. It doesn't mean that he didn't commit any fraud or material misstatement. But in a balance, the auditor can say, look at the errors and looking at my threshold, I can say the audit, the financial statement is true and fair. Meanwhile, there are a lot of issues, but he feels that on balance cannot tilt his conclusion or opinion to the negative, what you call the modified audit report. So he may issue an unmodified audit report. So that is the state we are in. We cannot divert the management letter with the responses of the client from the main audit report. It's an important thing we may need to marry.
So from where you sit, say to me again, what value do we put on management letters?
So as the name suggests, it is supposed to be something internal, management. So probably the board and the management are to consume that.
Yeah, well, what weight do you put on it? That's what I'm saying.
This is a public interest matter. And therefore, the Ghanaian is interested to know what did the auditor say about specific items. And that is of interest to us. And therefore, that's why it has come into the public domain and we are discussing it. Damning revelations from the auditor.
Don't final reports eventually change things in the management letter?
So if you look at the management letter being circulated, you will see that the auditors had recognized the responses of management. That in this matter, you said A, B, C, D. Once they recognize the responses of management, they will now tell you their conclusion of the matter. In fact, in some of the cases, they say that at the time of signing the report, you have not been able to provide evidence on this matter.
That's right.
That becomes a conclusion on the matter.
Okay.
And we can work with it.
All right, Prof. We can't thank you enough. Professor Samuel Entry, Pro Vice Chancellor, Lead Expert, Auditing at the UPSA. Thank you so very much for answering our call impromptu, because we didn't plan for this. We just called him. And we also actually didn't plan to discuss this matter. Kofi says he wants to say something briefly, and then we can break off and return to look at the Galamsey. President Mahama declares it a national emergency, but he seems to defer a declaration of a state of emergency. What are the people within the area saying about this? Kofi?
Yeah.
Let me hear what you're going to say. There's a question I'm going to put to you as well.
Okay.
And as you can see on the screen, this was in August of 2019? And that was me saying, 2018. That was me saying we can't build a cathedral on a foundation of lies, because there were just too many lies from the finance minister, from Ameu, and other government operators, including some of the people on the board, the question I'm being asked to ask you, even before you say what you want to say, is that the state went to the Supreme Court to defend the case brought by Dr. Bonfe and told the courts that state funds were not going to be used, apart from what they call the seed money. Yeah. So if you are saying people should be prosecuted, must it include those who went to the Supreme Court and told lies?
Okay, so a bit of education on that. We have an adversarial system. Mr. Bonfe went and stated a number of things, and they were facts. Offices had been given. That is state funds. In an adversarial system, the Attorney General came trying to refute those facts. In my view, the AG lied. Now, the finders of what the truth is are the judges. There are things they must take judicial notice of or use the evidence in front of them. I don't know how to put this, but in short, this is one of the reasons why the present Chief Justice is facing what she's facing now. Some of us were disappointed that in the face of things, it seemed there were preconceived decisions. And it's not just this. Birth certificate,
President Chief Justice, one person in the midst of...
That's why I didn't want to go there, but...
No.
Don't sidetrack me.
Justice Stokonu was only one among, a panel.
That is why
sometimes a panel of 5, a panel of 9.
I should have avoided
7.
that. I should have avoided that. I didn't mean to pin it on her, but I'm saying, one, as for the lawyer on the other side, I'm not saying he should lie, but I'm saying here, my own brother, the AG, lied. Because he had those facts and went and controverted what Bonfe said. And the judges, instead of taking judicial notice, looking at the facts in front of them, line up behind the government in the face of things that we could all see.
They believe the government.
Again, the point I'm making...
How were they to know that what the government was saying was a lie?
The belief in the government was not founded. There was evidence in front of them and it could be checked, which is why I'm saying that is why some of them are suffering. But let's not go there, okay? My point is that was a bad case. It was a blot. It shouldn't have gone the way it went because, like you said, lies all over the place. Quickly trying to finish. Listen, a management letter is an inquiry. It is asking management to provide further and better particulars, give details about certain things for the auditors to be able to complete their report. That is what it is. Now, it is usually necessary, but in this case, I think there is some overstimulation going on. And my point is that, look, there are things that should be clear and things that can be done. Instead of going to the ends of the earth trying to establish what is already clear. Now, let me explain what I mean. There has been expenditure. It is a matter of fact. Somebody took government money and spent it. Some people signed off on it. Find what has been expended. You don't need a forensic report to do that. Find the people who spend the money. You don't need a forensic report to do that. Call them and let them defend to you. Let them explain to you because they owe it to us. Public funds are public funds. Why did you spend this money? Why did you pay a J21 million? Defend that. If you are not able to do that, prosecute them. That is why we have laws, for instance, on causing financial loss to the states. All right? And then there were breaches of procurement law. Call them, prosecute them. If they have a defense, let them forward it. Their defense, if it's sound, will exonerate them. You don't need a forensic audit to do that. Trust me, this president has 4 years. If you're going to go the route of forensic audit and management reports, going back and forth, and I'm not saying they are not useful, I'm saying in this particular matter, just like I am accusing the judges of saying clear things and saying they didn't, there are some things that are clear. The expenditures were had, okay, plain corruption happened. Okay. There are funds that we can't trace.
All right.
There were procurement breaches. There were overpayments. And there are unaccounted for funds. Hold them and prosecute them. I think sometimes our prosecutorial agencies like too much fanfare. They like too much, public spectacles instead of the actual hard work.
Okay.
Don't over-dramatize.
Thank you.
Prosecute.
Thank you very much. And an elder in the Pentecost Church wants it to be put on record that, as a matter of fact, there was no directive by the church for members to contribute to the construction of the National Cathedral. Also, I think the James Kobna-Bonfe matter, even though he's right here with us, I think I need to mention this, that those in the judgment were Mrs. Justice Sophia Denyira, Justice Jones Doche, Justice Eni Yeboah, Justice Sule Badegbe, Justice Vida Kotobanfo, and Justice Eni Yeboah.
On that, let me do a withdrawal.
Right.
I don't want it to be taken as an attack on the judiciary. I'm simply saying, when you have some of these things which are of a huge national interest, and you have facts like what Mr. Bonfe presented, officers have been given. You spoke about some of the bungalows broken, state resources used, and it goes before the judges. Note that much as we don't insult the judges, we can criticize them. I am criticizing the ruling.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll take a quick break. When we return, Galamsey.
We are alarmed by the environmental destruction that is reported across Awaso, Dadieso, and Sefia and Rianso, mainly due to illegal mining. I must be honest, this is a national emergency. The National Task Force will continue its efforts to halt illegal mining in our forest reserves and on our water bodies.
Bongo. Hey, again.
Hello, thank you for calling MTN.
Yeah, this is Jerry. Jolly J for short.
Hi Jerry, how may I help?
These days I'm not happy with you guys at all. What you guys do is not cool, crowd.
How do you mean, sir?
You've been giving Bongo gifts all the time.
Who is Bongo?
Oh, Bongo, my friend. He purchased in my room. You don't know Bongo.
Oh.
You've been giving free gifts, but I don't. That don't be gift is him.
That's MTN rewards, sir. You can also get freebies because on MTN, doing always gets rewarded. Doing more of the things you love. Talk, text, browse, and more, and you get to redeem free call time or data by simply dialing *550#.
Oh, sir.
Yes, and on Fridays, you can even get extra special rewards like food vouchers, shopping discounts, and much more.
Didn't tell me anything, no. He will move out. Doing gets rewarded, eh? Hey, but your voice is really nice, so. Would you like to know how I got the name Jolly J?
That won't be necessary, Mr. Jolly. Calling customer care service doesn't give you points.
I'm gonna call my mom. I'll call my grandmom. I'll call my ex. That girl can talk, Papa. Hello, Mama. So what's the topic for today?
MTN.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
So, Charlie, the deal there, I almost get her.
Syntax pipe, as tough as it can get.
You get so sorry with your back, sorry. Oh, what are you was that thing? What the cat never won. You can catch him. Hey! Na ampai.
Between the yank fire and cabo.
Hey, madam, pipe menu.
Hey, syntax pipe. Me tono. Omu catch him send a one day pa. Say ye fee, say ye foam. The other pipe we be a yen gum.
Syntax pipe.
Why, Eliki?
Come, madam. From today, Syntex pipe in my pipe. No 2 ways.
When you know, pipe will be never use
SINTEX pipe.
Syntex pipe.
In a carry water. No hala.
Hi, now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park.
Welcome to Safari Valley Eco Park.
Our electric shuttle pulled up and in no time our tour began. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the Eco Park. We were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through orientation and how to better enjoy the experience. Watch these animals roam freely in their natural habitat undisturbed by our presence. We saw zebras, sable antelope, brown crane, mara, silky chicken, nyalas, Shetland ponies, and so many animals I just couldn't keep up. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Then we took a break to have lunch in this serene environment. All this amazing experience for this price for adults, this price for teenagers. It's a bargain. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before dinner by the campfire. It has been a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait till my next visit.
Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature.
Next in line, please.
Hi there. I've been hearing a lot about ABSA lately. People say you give more. Is this true?
Oh, it's more than true. See, your rich auntie gets more from ABSA. Your childhood friend gets more from ABSA. Your favorite uncle gets more from ABSA. Your roommates cry gets more from ABSA. Digital solutions get more from ABSA. Rewards we bring get more from ABSA. 5-star treatment get more from ABSA. Preferential rate get more from ABSA. Easy banking get more on ABSA. Instant loans get more on ABSA. Bank papa party get more on ABSA. NTK account and get more from ABSA. Yes! Join thousands of ABSA customers enjoying priority treatment, preferential rates, amazing rewards, and seamless digital solutions to help you write the next big chapter of your story. Sign up for an ABSA account today and get more. Your story matters. ABSA.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here in Newsfile we put Ghana first. And I had mentioned earlier that an elder of the church said there was no any such directive to the Pentecost Church for them to make contributions. We are getting contrary views that say that they were encouraged, not like a directive. In a local church, there was an encouragement for them to contribute. Particularly as, you know, their national leader was the one who was leading the process. As a Christian, I have consistently supported the concept of a national cathedral in a prime location in Accra, believing that God deserves the finest. However, the controversy surrounding corruption allegations and potential constitutional breaches have been regrettable. In light of the Deloitte audit report, I advocate for the government to identify and prosecute those found culpable, thereby ensuring accountability. It is essential to prioritize transparency and move forward constructively, ensuring that the project's sustenance is not overshadowed by controversy. Manche Bruce in Takra, the project sustenance. The project, Kofi Benton said the project is dead, it never lived. Okay, so I'll shelve your messages for now. Let me go on the subject of Galamsey. Let's hear President Mahama this week.
But we are alarmed by the environmental destruction that is reported across Awaso, Dadieso, and Sefia and Rianso, mainly due to illegal mining. I must be honest, this is a national emergency. The National Task Force will continue its efforts to halt illegal mining in our forest reserves and on our water bodies. I've also noted the activities of illegal anti-Galamsey task forces that go around extorting money from legitimate small-scale mining companies. I've requested that the authorities arrest and prosecute any individuals involved in this illegal anti-Galamsey activity. In addition, we are establishing a forward operating base of the Ghana Armed Forces in Ponikrum as requested by Nananum to respond swiftly to security threats and border-related crimes. Peace is a precondition for development.
Right. So that's President Mahama. This week he's been calling Galamsey a national emergency, and people now are asking him questions that he came to power at a point where he joined organized labor to say that the president, Nana Addo Dankwa, must declare a state of emergency on those areas and water bodies that were being polluted. It's been almost 7 months since he came into office. He hasn't done so. So what is he saying? National emergency, then do what about it? The same things that did not yield any results, because what the president is doing now, the previous administration also did. Let's begin with Professor Gladys Nyako-Ansah, who is Principal Investigator, University of Ghana, Anti-Galamsey Project. A couple of years ago, she told us, gave us a revelation. They went on the field and they found that farmers were using sachet water because the water that they had could not be used to water their crops. Dr. Atta Kennedy is still on the line with us. Kofi Bentil is here. Eric Edem Agbana is here. Kamal Dean is also still here. And Dr. Kwabena Bonfe is also on the line. Prof.
Good morning, Samson.
Good morning. Thank you very much for making time to join us.
Yes. My apologies. Technology hasn't been helpful, particularly this morning. So I wanted to wish the NPP party all the best in their conference today. I hope that by the time they are done, they will leave our campus as clean as they found it. And I hope that they will make the best of decisions that not only build their path, our nation, whether in opposition or government. So having said that, I'll come to the Galamsey issue. I'm very happy that President Mahama has gone on a Galamsey talk and has seen all the things we've been saying about Galamsey and the fact that it poses an existential threat to us. I would take it as a first step, acknowledging that this is a national emergency. When you read the Constitution, you're not a lawyer, I am not. Article 31 and 32, which make provisions for declaring a state of emergency, they provide procedures. So I want to believe that having acknowledged the fact that there is a national emergency, he will go beyond mere acknowledgement and now follow the procedures that are outlined in the Constitution, going to Parliament, and actually declare officially a state of emergency. And when he does declare the state of emergency, he will not leave it to the Anti-Galamsey Task Force. Anti-Galamsey Task Force is not in the Constitution about dealing with a national emergency. So I am saying that I am happy he has finally acknowledged that there is a problem to be solved. I am encouraging him to go all the way, to follow the steps. We have read about the steps, so we are expecting him in the next couple of days to go through the processes and to properly declare a state of an emergency and allow the institutions and the bodies that have been mandated to work towards restoring equilibrium and balance in a state of emergency to work.
The president seems to tell you that saying it's a national emergency does not mean there should be a declaration of a state of emergency on those sites and water bodies. He says that. He honestly admits that this is the situation we are in. However, the task force is what should continue its effort to halt illegal mining in our forest reserve and on our water bodies. He says, mark me by the work and the effort I make, not by the declaration of a state of emergency as a label.
No, I disagree with him with all due respect. So when the Constitution makes provision, the Constitution provides procedures to follow. So you cannot on one hand say this is a national emergency, and on the other hand say, I want to use a body that is not mandated by the Constitution to address the national emergency. If he is not acknowledging that it's a national emergency, that's a different thing.
You are a member of the UTAG. UTAG, University of Ghana, was part of the groups that went on strike, that threatened the strike over this, and still it has not been done. Don't you get a sense that no government really believes that a state of emergency declaration is actually what to do?
Okay. So the point or the fact of the matter is that governments are involved. Let me reframe it. Some members who are part of the government, whether this one or the previous, are involved in this national emergency called Galamsey. And politicians are politicians. They are not thinking about the nation. They are thinking about parties. They are thinking about votes. And so they are very careful in choosing their words, ambiguous words and phrases, so that they can always wriggle themselves out of trouble. Now, I read some of the quotations this NDC chairman made, Yamin. As a linguist, I read the tone of his submissions, the words, the choice of words, and what that man is doing is daring some big party people. He is threatening to reveal identities, to tell stories that would bring some people down, that he, the main person, there are people behind it. So there's no need for the president afraid of his party members or anybody who is in this country, because we know already. We know. There are people talk. The people who are in the Galamsey areas, they know the people who come there. They know the people who own the excavations. They know the people who come to collect the gold that is dug out of Galamsey. They know.
Okay.
So it is not new.
All right.
But we should go beyond building parties and think about building a nation. See, in September 2024, last year, a young man called Judith Brown wrote an article, online article, where she outlined the potential losses to government if government should declare national emergency. And she emphasized, well, the whole thing was about how much gold, how much money, how much revenue the government is going to lose if they declare national emergency. She said the government earns about % of national GDP from gold mining. Now, what she is silent on, which I want to ask, right, are these. If the government declares a state of emergency and there's no gold mining, illegal gold mining, how many lives will be saved?
Thank you very much.
How many kidneys, please indulge me, let me finish in 1 minute. How many kidneys will be protected? How many needless deaths? This week, young people have drowned in Achimwenchi. How many such needless deaths will be prevented? How many lands will be protected? How much cultural heritage will be protected? How many people will be saved from waterborne diseases, skin infection? How many healthy babies will be born? And how much money will the nation save on health? When we make the analysis, we should not only think about how much money gold brings us.
Okay.
What about this?
All right. Thank you.
We should think carefully.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you for joining us with those insightful contributions and comments. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Atta Kennedy, I come to you, I get to Kofi Bentil, to Bonfair, and then back here on the table. Yes, he says it's a national emergency, and he's showing that he's leading as well. We are told that through his instructions, the Attorney General has directed Iyoko to zoom in on 2 officers of the NDC, Mr. Yakubu Abanga and Mr. Joseph Yamin, because they are accused of involvement in Galamsey. And they don't stop there. In seeking to deal with their own party, leaders, they say that the scope of the investigation should include matters highlighted in the Professor Frimpong Boateng report on illegal mining. So he's showing the way. Is that not it?
Partly. In actual fact, I'm glad you mentioned Professor Frimpong Boateng. He's a friend and a mentor. So we've had long conversations about his experience. I think that President Mahama declaring a national emergency will help. Investigating some NDC party members will help. But let us recall that Nana Addo also tried to deal with Kejemfua and a few others. I think these people being targeted are tokens. Fundamentally, this problem will be solved or unsolved at a political level. This is not about a national emergency or deploying the police or the military. At heart, it is a political problem, and it has 2 aspects. The first one is voters in the mining areas. Both parties are afraid of losing votes in the mining areas. The second thing is money to fund political activities. A lot of politicians who are always looking for money have found that Galamsey is a very reliable and deep source of money. The intersection of those 2 things have led us to the reality that, in my judgment, very well considered, neither party will solve Galamsey on its own. The only way Galamsey can be solved is for there to be a political agreement that will depoliticize the solution so that neither major political party will take either the blame or the credit to the extent that it exists for solving this. So I think that somebody like the Asantehene should bring President Mahama and whoever the responsible parties in MPP and NDC are together and broker a political solution that will make this a third rail, which means we are solving this as a national problem and no party can take credit or blame. I am telling you that President Mahama right now is being told repeatedly by his NDC members how many votes they stand to lose in mining areas and how much money they stand to lose. In actual fact, I am confident that part of why the MPP almost lost the 2020 elections, that is if they didn't lose it, was because of the Galamsey fight that from Paul Boateng left. Unfortunately, it didn't solve the problem, but it was significant enough in the view of MPP insiders to cost them control of parliament and almost cost them the presidency. That is why they scapegoated him by kicking him out of the government and then even went ahead and attempted to prosecute him. The NDC was watching. They learned from that the lesson that if you are not careful with Galamsey, it will cost you elections. The truth of the matter is that both political parties will rather win elections than solve Galamsey. So the only way this problem will be solved is to build a political consensus at the highest level so that it will not be one president or one party or one government going after Galamsey, but all of us, so that we will go after the corporates regardless of whose ox is God, mobilize all the state resources. The military has been here before. It is not that the military can solve it, but whenever you get people, there will be orders from above to release this person, relieve this chansam, ban that person's own, and that is why we are where we are. And of course, it also lends itself to political victimization in that the fight against Galamsey, even though everybody knows those who are involved, it leads to a point where people out of favor can be targeted, like Jemfu House.
Dr. Tony Edu, former senior presidential aide, says 6 months is long enough. This thing should have been eliminated. He wants 1,000 boots, military boots on the ground, and this will be dealt with.
I'm sure the military will help, but at the end of the day, the military's hands are tied behind their backs by politicians. Because at the end of the day, the military will clear the place, they'll get the chances, they will arrest people. Then when it gets to when those people are supposed to be prosecuted, politics will intervene. When it gets to, after all those chances, I mean, these are not small machines. You don't just sneak them into the country. They are imported by people. The Chinese and others, they don't know Ghana. Somebody shows them where the mining areas are. So I'm just saying that I respect Dr. Tony Edu. He makes very substantive points. I heard of a security expert yesterday on Joy who also talked about, what a battalion can do, who should be members of it. But I am saying respectfully that fundamentally this problem is political, and both parties have realized that if you Galamsey and you don't touch it well, it will cost you money for your campaigns and it will cost you votes. And both of them won't tell you, but they will rather win elections than solve Galamsey if that is the choice.
Kofi, the Dr. Ken Ashigbe, who has been leading this for a long time, he's now CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. He says, well, we can commend the president for what he's saying, particularly that in the NPP, he, Ken Ashigbe, Kwame Sapong-Essiedu, Pebu, took a petition to the CID over Akonta Mining. That is Chairman Wuntumi's entity. And the president, even though the state itself, through Abu Jinapo, who was Natural Resources Minister, Minerals Commission, they had issued a statement to give a verdict that he was involved in some crime. It took President Kufour to come tell all of us that he was not in that business. So what President Mahama is doing is good and is showing leadership. Some say this is just for the optics.
Record on Galamsey is abysmal, and it's one of the reasons why MPP lost with the margin that they lost. An example is just what you gave. To that extent, therefore, what President Mahama is doing is better than what President
Kufour gave it the biggest highlight.
No, absolutely.
As a fight.
Highlight is not a solution. So what I'm saying is, his record
Operation
is
Halt, Operation, how many of the operations?
We sat here. You remember when we were talking about drones were in the previous government, we said they will fail and they failed. The point is, what President Mahama is doing today concerning his own people is better than what President Kufour did, but that's not enough. Before I continue, because of the earlier points we made, there's a quick rejoinder that I want to put. One, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokon was not on the panel that had the issue around the National Cathedral.
I stated that.
You did, but I think there's some response, so I need to clarify. So that should be clear. We are still disappointed with what that panel did, but that point should be made clear. Number two, Godfrey Dame was not the AG then, he was the deputy AG. And the issue that came was not about state funding, whatever, it was about the constitutionality of the state getting into it. And they defended that the state was not necessarily getting into it and all those other things. And that indeed, it was not unconstitutional for the state to support, just like they support Hajj. So I think those clarifications, we made it earlier, but I want to say it again, so we don't have it.
I think it was because he was in court.
Yes,
so people remember his face as Godfrey Dame, who was
we need to
defending.
Be clear. We say things here, we don't have all the time to do all the details, but I think it's important to be clear that it's not personal at all. Back to Galamsey. So see, I say, so far, we've had only 6 months, all right? This president has done or given signals or indications that we never saw in the other place. But it is not enough. Why do I say it's not enough? Even in these 6 months, Samson, I sat here on this platform and said, President Mahama will not repeal LI 2426. What happened? Everybody was saying, what happened? He didn't repeal it. All right?
I was one of those who doubted you.
I told you straight. I said he won't repeal it.
Because they were so clear about it in the campaign.
So well, the verdict is out, right? I was right. Everybody else was wrong. And I said, there were a new set of people out there mining, including new equipment. They are shifting off the old set, putting in a new set. Today, as we speak, some people are under investigation. They are not guilty at all, but we'll live to see. All right. However, the indications are that I agree with what Dr. Atta Kennedy just said. People are telling the president that don't go there, because this is what we need to do, A, B, C, D, E, and he seems to be listening to them. If it goes this way, this government will fail.
He started his administration by prohibiting appointees from small-scale mining. Oh, he didn't say illegal mining. He prohibited them. Now, the third national vice chair says, look, I do legal mining. I'm not involved in illegal mining.
So semantics.
The national organizer, Yamin, also says, I am not involved in illegal mining, but I'll submit myself to the investigation.
That's exactly what we were hearing in the past. That, please, not all of it is illegal. This is legal. And then you don't know what, and they're all messing up. Okay? And you made a point. He prohibited them from small-scale mining, legal or illegal. That's how I understood it. But they are in there. My point is clear. And again, I'll make it short. The indications are bad. If he doesn't take a very serious step above and beyond what the previous government did and allows people to say the things they are saying to him, this government will fail again on Galamsey. Galamsey, the National Cathedral, and a number of issues were the reasons why the MPP lost with such an abysmal margin. I again agree with Dr. Toniedo. In fact, I've said it before, that the Ghana Army does not lack the wherewithal to solve this problem. But note this, Galamsey is not an environmental problem. It is not an economic problem. It is a political problem. Why it is a political problem is that the politicians are the people involved.
Anytime we have put the army, the police, and other security agencies there, they end up getting accused of complicity.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a political problem. Because like they said, they arrest people, please release this one, release that person. So I agree with him that we need to...
Ablekuma says money and poverty cannot coexist.
One solves the other. So look, if we want to use our army, we need to set them in a space where the politicians, they will be out of reach of the politicians. But here's a problem. I don't see anything more important for our National House of Chiefs to do than to constitute from that place, National House of Chiefs, a group which will lead the fight against Galamsey. But we hear stories that the chiefs themselves are complicit. Okay? We have commissions on small arms. Galamsey is worse than small arms. Maybe it's time to have a commission on Galamsey, have the Santini and other prominent chiefs on that, give them a battalion of army people, and make sure that when they take an action, nobody can say, release this person or release that person. But Samson, increasingly I am getting despondent about our ability to fight Galamsey, simply because our leaders are leading it and our people are benefiting from it. Today we have a gold board, all right, and our indications show that a lot of the gold that the gold board is getting is coming from Galamsey. Now, I am ambivalent about that because gold mining has not really gone down to help people that much until Galamsey came in, and then all kinds of ordinary people are, benefiting from it. But look at what it is doing to our environment. So we need to have a balancing act here. And I say it's a political problem. This is one of the things our political leaders must sit down, do some really hard thinking, come to an elite consensus on both sides of the political aisle and say that we will solve this. Otherwise, forget it.
Dr. Bonfair, what do you say? Must we have a declaration of a state of emergency in those areas, forest reserves and water bodies? What will that change?
Admit that there was no need to draw the Chief Justice who didn't sit on the case we sent into the funny trial that she's been taken through. That said, I think that this whole discussion on illegal mining, I don't call it Galamsey, and I think part of our problem is we have given an illegality a name that means something else and seeking to euphemize it. To begin with, in my view, the legal regime on mining in Ghana, from Article 2576 to the Minerals and Mining Law 2006 Act 703, with all the amendments that have been done to it, that's compound into an insensitive, wicked, unsustainable, and unreasonable colonial relic law that cannot be allowed to continue to stay on ownership. If you have a law that says that when I sit on my land, and here in Ghana, we know, you the lawyers tell us, ownership of land is at individual, family, and at stool level. The state owns no land. And yet, when a mineral is found anywhere in this country, and we know from the records of survey reports 1913, A.E. Kitson, Professor K.B. Dixon, 1969, L.K. Agbosu, 1980, his PhD thesis, we know that all over the country you have gold somewhere. We say that when gold is found somewhere, that gold or that mineral is the property of the Republic of Ghana and is held in trust by the president on behalf of the people, such that the state can forcibly enter that land and only pay compensation. This has been partly the problem that is associated with the illegal mining. Then, because of the unreasonableness, we are not able to enforce properly even the proper laws that we have made of them. Don't mine within certain period, don't go to a certain extent closer to water bodies, and so on and so forth. And if you take the 4 licensing regimes from the reconnaissance through exploratory, through the environmental and environmental permits, and then the mining lease, at various stages, which have got to go through certain protocols, we skip them. And people holding, if you like, reconnaissance certificates have gone into mining, and we watch them. So these are some of the things that I believe we need to look at. It's about enforcement and changing the colonial relic, which is still sitting on our books in Article 2576, and then the Mineral and Mining Law, Section 1. Then I think the involvement of the people, and something, maybe this will be my last point on that. The verdict of the people of this country on what we call illegality or what we call illegal mining. You have called it Galamsey. So wrong. I tell you, we pretend we are angry about it, but we hold it. We say we abhor pork, and yet we relish pork soup. That's what we have become. Go to our communities and hear that some people are coming to explore mining and see how our chiefs troop to them. I have experienced some of it partly in my mother's hometown in Bamboy, where family lands were going to be given at some paltry sums to some people who were parading in the name of government officials because of some paltry sum of money. So as a people, the verdict of the people against illegal mining is one that I think is not so much strong and so much that we are opposed to it. We are interested in the money. We pretend that we are angry at the revelations that are coming out. Persons with disability being born out of that, menstrual cycles being destroyed, impotence arising out of that, metals in our body systems, and then the air we even breathe is contaminated. But is it something that we are dissatisfied about and we are concerned to change? I think the verdict of the people out there is not one in the negative, and that's why we are still living with it. If the verdict of the people was negative, that we don't want the illegalities, something I tell you, the president and the team and whoever politicians are will have very little to do to make sure that we get over these things.
Demonstrations.
Demonstrations. Well, that's another matter. They are also citizens. If they are as angry as we are supposed to be and they are sent on duty to man, they will not be compromised. So let us rethink as a people.
What can the citizens do apart from what they do at elections? Because as around this table, we have heard that the NPP was punished partly for not fighting this. What can the citizens do? Demonstrations or what?
There are contrary views to that point, but we don't have the time to discuss it in terms of who voted for who in those constituencies where mining activities are very rife. The point is that citizens have a duty at all times to do more. Something I'm saying, we must begin with giving meaning to our claim that we are against it. I am making the accusation that we pretend to be against it, but we enjoy it.
So you and I, what should we do? Guess what? I'm tired talking about this subject.
Yes.
I have been moderating discussions over Galamsey in the last decade, hosting this show.
You call it illegal mining.
yeah, illegal mining, you know?
Yes.
An existential threat. We have heard about it, that we are going to lose our water, we are going to import water. Who is going to be able to afford that?
First, to you directly, what we must do is not to get tired talking about it. That's the first point. Two is that let us, direct our shots more focused at where it matters most. It is obvious that President Mahama has capitulated. And Kofi has made it clear that when they were saying it, he knew they will not. And the history of mining in Ghana will show you that we are even targeting a section of it. We are looking at those we claim are small scale or do not have licenses. What about the big mining companies? Those with the big names, who are sometimes behind these things? The chiefs, the people ourselves. When it comes to away around and all. So let us be sincere.
Thank you, Dr. Bonfe.
Yes. And we will get it right.
Adam, we were told by the transport minister very recently in June that we are recording over 200 excavators daily into the country. So what? Doesn't this give the president a sense that he must declare the state of emergency in those areas on our water bodies, and like Tony Edu is saying, get a battalion of into those places?
Just a quick 1 minute. declare excavators a dangerous weapon that cannot be imported without a special license.
Well, it's something.
Yes.
Galamsey or illegal mining, as my friend Kabila wants us to call it. It's a menace that today we all agree it is no more just an issue of environmental degradation.
But Volta is free.
But it is not. I'll tell you that even Volta...
Don't allow it to.
Yes. Well, Volta, yes, we don't really have it as it is, but even that, we have a different issue of sand winning.
Yeah.
And that's another conversation.
I was advised by experts that if I like to buy foodstuff on the way when I travel, the safest place to do it is in the Volta.
It is.
Not any other place.
It is. But we are also now confronting this growing trend of sand winning.
Please don't allow Galamsey.
Which the EPA is working on it. But back to the issue of illegal mining. We all agree that it is no more an environmental challenge. It is a national issue. It's a national security, a full-blown national security issue. It is a national emergency, as President Mahama has described it. And I understand why the likes of Kufour and others believe that there are some conspiracy theories about the involvement of politicians and how this can affect our political fortunes. It is because of some of the things that we have seen in the past where clearly there was some level of governmental complicity in the illegal mining challenge. But where we are today, I am happy Kufour set the tone when he says that even though he is not satisfied with what President Mahama or the NDC is doing, he thinks that we are doing better in the fight against Galamsey than the fight that we inherited.
Really?
And for me, that I believe that must be placed on record.
We said the same thing of Kufour at the start of his administration.
Yes. So I'm going into the issues. We made specific promises. You mentioned the LI 2462. With the LI, the substance of the LI, for which reason the NDC called for it to be repealed, was the issue of the discretionary powers that was granted the minister and the president to allow or to give mining permits into forest reserves. That aspect is what we are amending.
Has been amended.
That is what has been amended. Now, with the amendment of that aspect, it means that you have the entire LI regulating activities in the sector. But what was the challenge? What posed the most challenge, the most difficult challenge, was the permit to mine in forest reserves.
Which was only introduced in November 2022.
And that has been amended. And the government deserves some commendation for that effort. Moving on. something beyond that.
Oh my God.
All the 288 designated forest reserves, we were told about 44 faced threats of Galamsey or were largely impacted by Galamsey. Out of these 44, 9 forest reserves were declared as red zones. Red zones because they became dangerous areas for even those fighting Galamsey to enter. But in 6 months, we have been able to successfully reclaim 8 out of the 9. With the 9th one, I personally asked the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources what prevented the ministry from successfully capturing that as well. And he says, look, we have to be strategic about it because the Desiree forest, I don't know if I got my pronunciation right, that particular forest, beyond the activities of illegal mining, has also become a habitat for other people who are not engaged in illegal mining. And I could understand because I recall in 2024, as part of the campaign, I visited the Hunter West constituency in the Western region. And when on our rounds, we entered a particular community to campaign, there were minors, there were children, there were women, some very old, some were selling bread, some were selling cake, and other things. They were selling food to Galamseyers. But all of them are living within the enclave. And so when you go with a very combative approach, you may end up touching even innocent lives. But the question is that in the 6 months, what has been the approach of President Mahama and our government towards the fight against Galamsey? First one is the issue of licensing regime. We clearly have reformed the licensing regime. Since we came into office, we have decided not to grant any licenses for even small-scale artisanal mining, because we believe as a party, we believe as a government that something, let us reform the licensing regime. We have revoked all licenses that were given without due diligence. And as we speak, there is a committee being chaired by the deputy minister. That committee is reviewing every single license, mining license, and many more licenses will be revoked. Because when you give licenses without due process, you are legitimately empowering people to engage in illegal mining. The second thing we are doing as a government is that we are strengthening the law enforcement. When we came into office, we discovered, rather sadly, that only 4% of people arrested in a Galamsey fight are prosecuted, only 4%. So we decided to approach the fight from a different angle. Today, you agree with me that there's better collaboration within all the agencies, especially the security agencies, to confront. And as we speak, over 500 people have been arrested. Some have already been prosecuted. We have gotten to a point where, regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of who you know in authority, if you are arrested as a small-scale miner, you will be dealt with by the law. And that should give you confidence that indeed the government is fighting Galamsey from that angle. The third thing we are doing is the reclaiming of the degraded mines, the lands. We all know how expensive it is. It cost us about $35,000 or more to reclaim at least 1 hectare of land. But government has been committed to the fight, and as we speak, we know that we are already reclaiming that. We have introduced some other alternative measures, like the Tree for Life. The EPA is also embarking on some other activities. So something, government has not thrown its hands in despair in the fight against Galamsey. We are providing alternative sources of livelihood.
You're speaking the longest so far.
Okay, so we are, in conclusion, something. Yes, it is still a very difficult, very complicated fight. But government has shown enough commitment to warrant public trust that we will deal with the situation at hand. And I am confident that President Mahama will lead us to the state where Galamsey will be a thing of the past. I have that confidence in him.
The issue being raised is that President Mahama is not using any extraordinary means. He's using the normal methods that were employed earlier. So if you say it's a national emergency, then approach it with an extraordinary solution. You agree?
Thank you very much. When you were speaking to the first person who contributed on this matter, the professor, she said, look into your constitution, the solution. Obviously referring to Article 31 of the Constitution.
State of emergency.
Absolutely. Same referring to laws or organic laws here, we say, talking about Emergency Power Act, which is there as well. Now, point is, if you come, my brother Agbana tells us that, look, you are not complaining, you are not whining about this matter, you are not throwing your hands in despair. You come to mention to the entirety of this country that, look, this is a national emergency issue. You have the power to declare a national emergency on this. You actually told the whole world that should you become the president of the Republic of Ghana, should you be voted for, you are going to embark on same. Why not? Look, Samson, this Galamsey from between 2022-2023 killed over 50 security personnel. 120 civilians were killed. Galamsey, Major Mahama and Co. We know the story.
Yeah.
Galamsey actually is depriving close to 5 million people of good drinking water or potable water to drink. Galamsey is ensuring that we sit here, the natural resources that God has endowed us with, that this country could harness and be better, have all the amenities that we need, is actually depleting sin. Okay, now we all agree that, okay, the man who thought that I will even put my presidency on the line when it comes to the fight against illegal mining has done nothing. We all agree. But that was the argument out there. Kufour even telling Ghanaians that we should wake up. Look, and I have always maintained, even if he has done nothing at all, to have triggered the argument, to have triggered that the fight against Galamsey, involving every stakeholder in this matter, that alone was enough for us to commend him. Today we sit here, all these problems that we face with, okay, and having the people now in power who have been trusted that, look, when they come, they will be able to do better. We are still having stories being told. We are still getting stories being told. You see, and I could not have agreed more with Atta Kennedy when he says, look, lack of political will is the issue. And it's a fact. I was part of the operations of our campaign in 2020. I know what happened to us in Pristia Honi Valley. I know what happens to us in Takwa. I know what happened to us in the mining areas in terms of voter turnout in favor of the NPP. It did not. Reason being, the President of the Republic of Ghana saying, fight the illegal miners. So when people say that, look, if Kufour in 2024 had shown some, if you like, fight, strong, visible fight against Galamsey, we would have won the election. I disagree with them. Rather, the reverse is the case. If he had actually said that, look, let's throw our hands in despair, let's leave them alone to do whatever they want to do against the environment, we would have rather been able to get support from all these areas. But see, Samson, now we are where we are. Solution is simple. What are the features of declaring emergency, state of emergency? We all know. What causes it? Is Galamsey a conservative factor in that regard? And if it is, with the greatest respect to the President of the Republic of Ghana, you promised. Do it. Go for it. Now he says, oh, we are told Yamin is called. Abanga Yakubu is called. Again, back to Atta Kennedy. What didn't we see when the likes of Kate Jemfua and the rest were mentioned? Okay? We saw how people rose up to defend them. We saw how people came.
She cried that her excavators were bent. And that was actually an illegal activity. They were not supposed to be burning them on site.
Later on, you see, and we keep flip-flopping on this matter. Burning excavators, Ghanaians were, hey, why do you burn excavators? Okay, let's stop burning excavators and arrest them, whatever. Ghanaians say, no, burn excavators.
No, Ghanaians don't have
Some.
They say follow the law.
Absolutely. You see, but that brings to where Joe Wise brought this suggestion of shoot and kill. Not only Joe Wise. Janet Nabila also, proposed it.
Even though by a constitution.
I know, I do know.
Article 13 is clear.
I was following how
a person shall not be deprived of their life.
I know.
Except they have been convicted by a court.
Something. What does
judgment has been passed that they should be killed?
What does the UN principles say when there are acts that appear strictly, against, the very people you are seeking to defend, causing their deaths? What does the UN principle say?
Due process.
I know. However, shoot and kill is due process as well. Look, example is, let me just give an example. In 2016, Kenya, on this ivory poachers, they fought it strongly to the extent that they had nothing to do. So the government said, look, to be able to save the lives of this wildlife, important wildlife, whatever, we needed to inculcate in our process of making sure we save them the shoot and kill mechanism.
Okay.
I am not pushing for it, but the point I want to make here is that, look, let us all now agree that the NDC has failed, the MPP has failed. We should all, as a people, come back to the drawing board, give suggestions as to how to fight this canker, Otherwise, we will still go back and forth on this matter and nothing will come of it. And to end with, I will say, look, let me predict. There will be nothing that will come out of this Yamin and Abanga Yakubu matter.
Hey.
Market. Nothing will come out of it.
Clever.
Nothing will come out of it.
Okay. What an interesting note.
Nothing.
What an interesting note. But I keep asking myself, I vote for leaders. I pay my taxes. You are supposed to do the job. Then you come back and say, we are not all involved. I'm not involved. I'm not involved. You have been given a job, do it. Kuku says that why isn't there Galamsey in the Volta region or the mountain towns of Kwahu? It is because the chiefs and people there have sworn not to allow it. Just like the chief who's a judge, what's the name again? Domahini, their area. They don't allow it, so it hasn't happened. So Kuku is asking that question. It is because the chiefs and people there have sworn not to allow it. They reject its profits and with it, its dangers. Kwabena Bonfe is right. In every community, the people know who is a stranger or an alien. If a chief and his people are truly against illegal mining, they will hound anyone who enters their forest to mine, and more importantly, they themselves won't indulge in it. If they want illegal mining, they will fight and kill who show up to try stopping it. Otherwise, why did they kill Major Mahama? In Ghana, both our leaders and followers are hypocrites. And Kabila repeats that the legal regime on mining in Ghana from Article 2576 and Act 703, Section 1 is insensitive, wicked, unsustainable, and an unreasonable colonial relic which must change on ownership. Musa Abattoir says that those jubilating over the Deloitte audits on the National Cathedral project should pause and rethink. This is just the tip of the iceberg. A full-scale investigation and forensic audit will be conducted by the Auditor General, and when the dust settles, all of those perpetrators of these enormous crimes against the state in the name of Cathedral will face the full rigors of the law. I can promise you that the politicians cannot touch some of these pastors because they want their votes. They won't do it. Okay, so Suleiman Isifu says that, President Mahama has a history of correctly describing problems, like he described corruption as mass murder. Yes, Galamsey is a national emergency. The question now is, what's the prescription for solving a national emergency? Any solution that doesn't include a declaration of a state of emergency is bound to fail, because emergency situations deserve emergency measures. And then he says that nothing is more bizarre than the MPP now seeking to hop onto a so-called audit report as vindication for the project. They forget that the uproar against the project was right from its inception, when no monies had been spent. Simply put, Ghanaians did not like the project, period. All the other incidental issues like procurement breaches only came to deepen a pre-existing hatred for the project. We, the MPP, must be careful not to portray ourselves as not having learned our lessons. Kofi Bentel has one bullet for what is going on, especially about over 200 excavators being brought into this country daily. Please repeat it and let me acknowledge those who are paying for this show.
If we want to fight Galamsey, the government can do this next week. Declare excavators as dangerous equipment which cannot be imported except by special license.
Thank you. We understand DVLA says he now wants to register them and give them some number plates and so on.
They've done tracking, it didn't work.
Okay, my guest is Dr. Atta Kennedy, physician and political activist, Professor Gladys Nyankwo, principal investigator, University of Ghana Anti-Galamsey Project. Kofi Bentil is lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa. Eric Edem Agbana is MP Ketu North. Kamal Dean Abdullahi, Deputy National Communications Director, New Patriotic Party. Dr. Kobna Bonfe Jr., CEO of the Census and lecturer at the UPSA. We also had a professor at the UPSA, Professor Samuel Enchi, Pro Vice Chancellor, join us on the show. The show is brought to you by the kind sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go. At Chelsea University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, simply dial star 165 hash on MTN to join My Way today. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. Syntex Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Activa International Insurance, our clients, our passion. And International Facilities Management Association, proud to be associated with Newsfile. And every Saturday, my outfit is provided by Konati Clothing. You can call them 0244676732, and they will make you look good. Today, we are in our election headquarters uniform because we are bringing you all that is happening at the NPP National Conference at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. Thank you very much. Don't go anywhere because we continue our coverage.
Malaria's remedy is Lonat. Therefore, we're gonna use Lonat to recover. You have malaria? Yes, are you shivering? Yes, yes. You got chills? Yes, take Lonat. Lonat. First day, Lonat. Take Lonat. Second day, Lonat. Take Lonat. Third day, Lonat. Take Lonat. That's all. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat scatter malaria.
This advert is FDA approved.
When we connect, everything is possible. Whatever seems unreachable becomes even closer. Building partnerships. Redefining the norms. Because when we connect, being there becomes possible. And new ideas come to life. Stay ahead and stay connected with MTN Business Broadband. Superior internet solutions that drive your dreams. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh or call or WhatsApp 0244 308 111.
MTN.
Let's talk hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are normal structures located